Howdy, howdy. Sudevil here, and welcome to my review of the Tomb Kings update patch notes. Uh, Really, from a Dowie, a dwarf perspective, I want to go through the patch notes. They're very long, and try and pick out anything that's really going to affect the dwarfs specifically, and to kind of see what they've done. I've had a quick once over, and I must say, I'm really impressed with the patch notes. They really could have just dropped Tomb Kings, and I'm sure everyone would be happy. A few little bug fixes here and there, but they have really put a lot of work into this update and patch, and there are a lot of really interesting changes. Fantastic, I think. They're focused a lot on campaign, obviously specifically Bretonia, but there's a lot more to it. They've done a lot of AI changes and alterations, and really hit on a few of the real key things that I noticed in the Mortal Empires campaign I played through, and they're really also paying a lot of attention to multiplayer. And I've done I've been picking away at a new episode of Essential Units where I'm looking at the dwarfs versus lizardmen specifically, and I'm gonna try and rush that video out. They take a lot of time to do. There's a lot of testing involved, and I'm going to rush that out because there's going to be some changes that will change that a little bit, and then I'll do a post-patch update. And I will probably go take a look at the Dwarfs versus the Tomb Kings shortly thereafter. But I've seen a few videos talking about the improvements to Bretonia, but I really want to go over the patch notes in this one and look at the effects on the Dwarf specifically. So I will say a few notes about Bretonia. They really have taking a good hard look at the faction. I'd love to hear from a Bretonia player, and I mean, hopefully we'll see Janet on occasion play through a Bretonia campaign. I know he was thinking about it, and now with the new update, I think I'd love to see him do that, because they've really updated their skill tree. They've updated a lot of things about the Bretonian faction, and I would guess that in campaign, Bretonia will be stronger. Usually in the first game campaigns and in the Mortal Empire campaign, they're just not really there, and they don't seem to scale well into the late game. So hopefully these changes really do help them scale into the late game. So as far as the Tomb Kings update, I'm sure anyone who's watching this has been watching some of the Tomb Kings information that's come out, and people are starting their Let's Plays ahead of the release on Monday, and it looks great. I mean, I just love what Creative Assembly has done with the Tomb Kings. They are taking, they're not just slotting them into how all the other factions play. They are making them very unique in that they don't have a cost or upkeep for any of their units, which I think is fantastic. I want to see more of that in the Improving Total War Warhammer series that I've started kind of picking away at. I talked about specifically doing something not like that, but really taking chances or taking maybe risks or making big changes to factions, because the Total War Warhammer franchise really lends itself to that. So we're going to go through and take a look at some of the things that have changed, and we'll talk about how they might affect campaign and to a lesser degree multiplayer. So Old World Legendary Lord trait update. So Karl France, plus 10 to diplomatic relations with Empire provinces and plus 2 leadership. So a nice little change that will help Empire to confederate and get them moving earlier in campaign and make them a little stronger as they move into the mid game, which is something I really like. Azeg the Slaughter, plus 15 leadership aura size, plus 8 leadership aura effect. So that may make him a little tougher. This one, Grimgore Ironhide, so plus 6 leadership for Black Orcs in the army and plus 5 armor for Black Orcs in the army. This will actually only really help a player. The AI will not be really affected. It is very rare to see, as a dwarf, the greenskins with any amount of Black Orcs aside from what they start with. Thorgrim plus 15 leadership aura size and plus 8 leadership aura effect. Fantastic. An Archaon plus 10% physical resist for Chaos Knights in the army and plus 25% raising income. I'm not sure how that'll affect the AI aside from making their armies a tad bit stronger, but that might be a really nice bit for a player. So bug fixes and improvements. So they have their headline improvements. They've rebalanced the Grand campaign and the Vortex campaigns to reduce Dwarf supremacy. Yes, okay, I can get it. I get it. You know, the Dowie are pretty good in Mortal Empires. And I've seen a lot of campaigns where the Dowie do pretty good. Fair enough. Fair played. Hopefully they reduce the vampire counts, because that's who I saw to be a very, very pervasive or expansive faction in my Mortal Empires campaign. And they actually tromped on the dwarfs in the north in Zufbar and Karakadrin and those areas. So improved dropped orders and units responsiveness during battles. That's fantastic. Now they had already changed that once and made an improvement to that, but I have noticed it is not quite, I don't know if it's not quite where it was in game one, but it's still a little odd. And in my testing in Mortal Empires for Dwarfs versus Lizardmen, I did notice some little weird things happening, so hopefully these are addressed. Improved Skaven units in auto-resolve. This is actually massive. One of the videos that I made right in the middle of my Mortal Empires campaign was a plea to CA to improve Skaven, because they just got obliterated. Really, they didn't have a chance in my campaign, and fortunately I got to fight Queek Headtaker a few times, but they only had one. They were down to one settlement by the time I got down to there, and Skrolk was completely gone by the time I got over to Lustria. So this is going to be a giant improvement, I hope, for Skaven. For sure it'll be an improvement. I hope it is a big improvement, and that Skaven are more of a thing in the Mortal Empires campaign, and particularly I think it's Hell's Gate up north by Krakadrak, where there's a Skaven settlement. Hopefully they can kind of survive up there. Added a checkbox to the army panel in campaign, so when end turn notifications are disabled, the notifications for the selected army will still be enabled. Okay. Battle AI is now less inclined to use deep unit formations, for example 5 units deep, and will use more varied and wider formations where appropriate. So that's actually quite good. I think one of the problems in Mortal Empires in my playthrough was the tendency for the AI to focus down on a single unit or the most powerful units at the expense of the rest of their army. Campaign battle difficulty modifiers are now applied to the AI correctly. Now, I'd heard the campaign battle difficulty modifiers were not quite correct. So if you were on very hard, it might have been on easy, or if you're on legendary, it might have, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but that'll be good. So hopefully it'll be correct. I do want to do kind of a sort of a half playthrough when Tomb Kings drops. I'm thinking I'm going to get the faction unlocker and play maybe Karak Zorn, or just down there just for some fun. I might record it too and put it down, just so I can have some fights against the Tomb Kings. The battle AI, there we go. The battle AI is now less likely to clump when attacking high combat potential unit or lord, which used to make them easy to kill with ranged units or by flanking the clumped army. And this was exactly what I saw. You run your lord out, and the lords are so much better in Mortal Empires. They are really, compared to game one, they are really legends. And what I saw is you put your lord out there and they would get surrounded by 4 or 5 units, and maybe instead of 1 or 2 or even 5 or 6, and then you just throw in your artillery, and it was crushing. And the rest of your army only had to deal with half of the enemy army, really, Improved battle AI for outflanking analyzers to check the number of entities currently in the unit rather than the initial number. This will prevent the battle AI from attempting to outflank an already engaged unit and surround single entity units under certain conditions. So we'll have to see how that plays out. That's something we'll see as the Dowie, because the Dwarfs are the only ones without really flanking units. So this will impact the Dowie campaign probably the most, I would think. Old World Legendary Lords, traits, and Bretonia updates. See above for details. All right, technical and performance improvements. So general. Fixed a bug where the campaign map would flicker when the player minimized the game or Alt-Tab while changing graphics. I haven't seen that. Fixed a crash when switching between maximum graphics settings and the out-of-the-box high settings on... Okay. Improved compatibility with the 690, GTX 690. Fixed a crash that occurs on the AMD graphics. Added recommended graphics settings for GT 740. So, all right. So campaign technical improvements. Fixed a rare enter and crash where an agent was left as the only unit in a force and dies of attrition at the end of the round. That would be rare. I only had that happen to me once, and I never crashed, but in my Mortal Empires campaign, I think episode 50 or 51, I lost a battle with Ungram, and he had 3 agents in the unit, and they were all that was left, but it was 3 and not 1. And they didn't die of attrition, so that would have been an interesting crash. FPS performance has been improved when zooming out to max distance on the campaign map on some configurations. Okay. Fixed a multiplayer campaign desync in the end turn cycle that caused by a campaign script. Never saw that, I don't think. Fixed a head-to-head multiplayer campaign crash. Okay, in Vortex. Have never played multiplayer, so I don't know. Fixed a Mortal Empires campaign crash during the enter cycle for the Lizardmen. Okay. DirectX 12 bugs for SLI users where the diplomacy contours, colors, map overlay, and storm seas would flicker in campaign modes. Didn't see that. Fixed a crash that could occur when the alt-tabbing out during load screens. Okay. I never saw that. I did have one crash, I think, on my whole Mortal Empires campaign. I wish I could remember precisely what it was. But fixed a rare crash that would occur when removing units from an army on the AI faction during the end turn sequence. Fixed a crash where Lord disbanded after a hero is given the command to embed in the army. Oh, okay. Interesting. And fixed an enter crash where Lord died and the only other unit left in the army was a hero. So gameplay improvements. Here we go. And this is long. I mean, you can see this aside. There's a massive amount of information. So kudos to CA for just getting after developing this game. I know they've been under a bit of heat for Norska and stuff, but I just love how much effort they're putting, not into just pumping out new factions, but really improving the game. I think CA has always been a good developer with respect to looking after the games. Some people will disagree with that, but I know I've played other games where it is, fire and forget. You get the game out and they never touch it again. And I know CA does have the help of a lot of modders, a really, really strong modding community that mod out a lot of bugs and problems, but they are really looking after Total War Warhammer. I am loving the effort they're putting in and loving the results. As anyone watched, I mean, I love the Mortal Empires campaign that I played through, and I'm going to play through it again for sure multiple times because it is so good. So campaign AI is now more likely to correctly deploy agents in regions owned by a different subculture in order to apply their negative effects. Got you. So that would be like a vampire count AI sending their agent to spread corruption. I would think that would be one of the things that would affect, which will make the game more difficult as the Dwarfs. Some of the agent effects are already like negative growth and stuff. They're already they can be pretty rough, but they're a little bit random. So a more focused AI at actually using their agents in an effective way rather than just trying to, murder everybody, but really trying to use their effects will be good. So Wood Elf rebels no longer suffer from undead attrition. Interesting, I never noticed that. The lake on the campaign map of Torfanu has been visually improved. Okay. In the Eye of the Vortex campaign, AI now prioritizes attacking closer ritual locations if they can. I know this was an issue in some of the playthroughs I saw where the campaign AI would do some weird things. They'd kind of go for weak cities as opposed to ritual locations, stuff like that. So it is no longer possible to ask allied factions to join wars against intervention armies and Chaos Skaven armies, which are spawned when performing a ritual. Okay. The load saved game option is no longer available after failing to stop the AI from winning the Vortex campaign on Legendary. Oh, interesting. The skills affecting stats for Saurus Temple Guards now also applies to Blessed Temple Guards. Got you. So that's just really just made Lizardmen slightly more powerful. Lizardmen are great in campaign already. So that'll just make them a little bit better. You really don't see a lot of Blessed units anyways. But maybe they'll be slightly better. So added new traits to the Bretonnian Damsel hero. Okay. The Knight of Cain mission. Okay. Blood Drinker quest. These are things that don't affect the dwarves at all. The Box of Eerie Noises can no longer be collected from sea encounters because it is meant to be crafted only. Okay. Hero traits for some newly recruited units. For example, Lore Keeper for vampire counts will now affect the local region where they are recruited as intended. Oh, I get it. So maybe there were some hero traits that didn't immediately affect the local region or affected somewhere else. So we'll see. I did have a few hero traits I noticed that didn't quite function as I thought they should in the Mortal Empires campaign. So corrected the requirements for the Martial Prowess mission. Okay. The Green Scale and Filth mission, not us. Fixed a loyalty gain exploit. We're adding and removing followers to a character. That does not affect the dwarfs. The Black Ark can now return to full speed after moving. Okay, switching stance. Added a Hall of Oaths building chain to the Mount Gunbad settlement in Rib Peaks province. Cool. So we'll see that when it drops on Monday. I'm going to take a look and find that Hall of Oaths building chain in Mount Gunbad. Garrison armies no longer gain experience from special buildings, rights, and lord abilities. I didn't know they gained experience from lord abilities as it was, but okay. Malachus, Seditious and Sanguine skill now provides the correct effects. Okay. Chaos Incursion armies are now more likely to recruit additional units. Interesting. Okay. This is one of the things. This is actually was an issue in Game 1, I would say, where not just like the half stacks that would come, they not recruiting, but you could knock down a Chaos army to next to nothing and it would wander around with the units it had. It would never recruit. And the northern ones, it took them a long time to recruit. Like if you knocked Kolek down to just him, he would wander around by himself for a while and then, finally after a few turns start recruiting. So fix the effect gained from doing the treasure hunt event Undead Sentinels. Don't remember that one. Fix the requirements for unlocking the secondary skills in the Beastman Gorbel skill tree. Alright, Greenskins and Wurzag can now build more resource buildings. Ooh. This might be an issue. Well, it might be an issue. This will make the Dowie campaign more difficult. If the Greenskins and Wurzag are now building more resource buildings, that means their economy is going to be better, which is typically quite weak. And that's one of the weaknesses of the Greenskin AI in campaign, is that if you watch a player play the Greenskins, getting and managing WAs is pretty valuable and they can use them well. The AI is not nearly as good as that, but where the player really outshines the AI is managing the resource buildings, but the ability to get more resource buildings in the first place will make the campaign, I would say, much more difficult actually, like for the Dowie in the early to mid game, and it might take longer to defeat the Greenskins, and it might be less likely that factions like Karak Azul will survive to the mid-game, or because they'll have a harder time of it against Greenskins. So that'll be interesting. That should make the campaign a little tougher and a little funner. The visualization for storms at sea, on the water, surface is no longer offset. Okay, fixed a bug where the income and public order would not change or update if the player unticks tax province feature while in the building browser. Well, interesting little bug. Said like they've caught a lot of these little bugs. Good job, CA. Fixed cases where construction of buildings in campaign would take less time in harsh climates rather than more time. Oh, okay, so Queek's objective to control Karak 8 Peaks can no longer be achieved by forming a military alliance with a faction that controls it. He needs to own it himself. When capturing Wurtbad as Clan Angrand, the city no longer has two identical defense building chains. Yeah, I saw this bug somewhere where I had a city that had you could do two walls or something. It was really weird. So maybe it was, I can't remember exactly when it happened. So when Vlad uses Lightning Strike, Isabella will no longer be able to reinforce him. And holy, God, that must have made the von Karstein campaign ridiculously easy in the end game. If you could bring Isabella and use Lightning Strike with Vlad and get Isabella to reinforce anyways. Wow. Remove some construction cost reduction buffs from common buildings to fix an exploit. I don't know what that is. Improve cases where AI factions would offer non-aggression pact on one turn and end the pact the next turn for no apparent reason. Excellent. Love it. So they're looking at the AI, and sometimes the AI on in diplomacy will do some weird things, and really glad they're looking at it. Who knows how deep this has gone. Maybe they've looked at other things, or at least someone's looking at it, which is a big positive. The Silver Host faction won't recruit so many corpse carts. They're spamming corpse carts. Added some missing animations from the Reaper bolt throwers in the Black Cleek Raiders rogue army. Okay, the Beastmen for Gore and Glory mission. Don't need that. Don't think about that. So Skaven Corruption will now give extra menace below charges when intended. I wonder if that's going to hit the AI, because that would make it much more likely that Skaven will at least survive if they have good Skaven Corruption, and the AI can use that against other AI. Fixed an issue where after the Top-Notch faction became a migrating horde, they were no longer able to have any buildings or recruit new units. Okay. When the campaign AI captures Karak 8 Peaks and then allies with Clan Angren, you will no longer see Belagar Ironhammer travel to stand outside the settlement indefinitely. Oh. Oh, Belagar was probably bugged where, yeah, you make the... it was just when the campaign AI and the other campaign AI were allies, he would do that. Okay, interesting. Fix some instances where the balance of power would be further in the enemy's favor when reinforcements are used compared to without. I did see this actually. Some instances where the balance of powers would be further in the enemy's favor when reinforcements were used compared to without. I did see some weird things happening when you use Lightning Strike. Sometimes you get weird stuff, but not where it's completely the opposite way. But I never saw that. Kazrak, the one-eye recruitment cost reduction for Bestigar units has been approved and is now minus 30%. That is incredibly minor and almost negligible. Queek Head Takers Make It Better mission can now be completed when taking control of a settlement with the lair already constructed. Okay. Fixed an issue where the Dragon Cloak of Friskar could be completed when raiding with an army other than Ungrams. Okay. Research rate is now low capped at 0 and will no longer go negative. This won't affect the dwarves, but I know there are some factions that they pick elements and they will each element they pick will reduce their research rate. So not a Dowie issue. Disbanded Black Arcs no longer count towards victory objectives. Oh, that's weird. Reichsfort can now be constructed in Marienburg. Fixed an issue where Way Watchers did not get armor-piercing missile damage bonus from the Hawk's precision. I don't know how much that'll make a difference against the AI. Skaven will now have the Great Powered Diplomatic penalty. Interesting. Okay. So they never had that penalty before. So I think the Skaven campaigns are actually fairly difficult in general because of the AI, or because of the auto-resolve issues. But, well, it'll be more difficult now for a Skaven player, but it will not affect the Dowie. When conversing with Cetra in diplomacy, players must verbally address him using his entire title train, regardless of any embarrassment this may cause due to the presence of family members. I love you, CA. I love you. Luminarch of Hysh can now be recruited in Safari and Grand. Okay, garrisons that exceed 20. Okay, garrisons that exceed 20 units should now prioritize units of higher tier when considering what units to take into battle. I have seen this actually come in a little bit weird when you are getting reinforced out of a garrison. Or is this... Yeah, because you see weird things happen when you have more than 40 units and you have to... Then other units have to come... You have to choose which units from the Third Army get into your battle. Improved balance of power calculations for complex battles. Cool. Interesting. It'll be neat to go and take a look at that. So improved balance of power calculations for complex battles. Oh, it's not going to affect you. Well, it'll affect everybody, but I won't see it because I only play on Legendary, so I never see the balance of power. But I don't know that that has an immediate impact on anything other than what this is telling us is CA is doing some work behind the scenes, and this is important to them because this is almost irrelevant for a player or AI versus AI. So they're doing something behind the scenes here. I wonder what they're doing exactly, why they need to understand that. I bet you this improved balance of power calculation for complex battles is probably related to the auto-resolve stuff they're doing. I bet you it is. And that's how they're testing it and proving it out. Possibly. So added some missing greenskin garrison hero characters. I did actually notice that. There were some greenskin garrisons that didn't have a hero, and they should have. Wurzeg can once again construct his special savage orc building chain. That if this has a tier 1 building, this may make Wurzeg quite a bit more powerful in the early game. A few things done to the orcs, actually. These are, and this is not a small thing. If he has the ability to, the AI has the ability to produce a special building chain, which will really help them out. Again, combined with the ability for all orcs and Wurzeg to make more income buildings, the Dowie starting position will be quite a bit different. That will be quite a bit more difficult. Maybe that was part and parcel of the reduction of, what do they call it? Dowie Dwarf domination in the campaign. Savage Orcs resource added to the floating pyramid settlement in both Vortex and Mortal Empires campaigns. Okay. Battle. Queek Headtaker can now use his Menace Below ability when entering the battle as a reinforcement. Okay. Magic missiles such as high dark elf arrows will steer more aggressively towards their targets. I mean, this may have more of an impact in multiplayer than in campaign, because these things tend not to be a real big deal in campaign, but in multiplayer, someone's going to be emotional about this change. They're going to be happy about it or sad about it. Improved how large groups of multiple units navigate through destroyed gates in siege battles in some cases. Excellent. Yeah, this is a hard one. I would imagine to make work correctly for the AI, because and I notice or when you issue commands, like for example, if I had 2 holes in the gates and I was sieging a city, and I would try and send all of my units through one destroyed gate, or broken wall, they would go in weird places, so they wouldn't quite go where you think they would go. So hopefully that makes the siege battle slightly more interesting. Skink cohort melee unit will no longer use the wrong idle animation when standing on a wall. 0 effect on anything except for maybe making Lizardmen players happy. Army abilities can now target and be used directly on a unit card. Awesome. Okay, so that's kind of it's not a big effect to, or there's no effect to the Dowie, but that's kind of again, it's like a lot of these little things really add up to make a game better. I know this is not going to affect the Dowie, because the Dowie doesn't have army abilities like the High Elves, Dark Elves, like the new factions, and maybe they will, but that's actually really good. Click on your ability, click on a unit card, good little improvement. Improve the Skaven routing in the Prelude battle. The enemy I know, okay, don't need that. Here we go. After winning a battle, when the player chooses to run down the enemy rather than end battle, the battle music will no longer stop playing when using the tactical map. Alright. Doesn't make any change, just got music. Improved artillery pathfinding in the corners of the playable battle area. Good. So I'd see that where you notice that is when you're in a siege and you have your cannons on the kind of the edge. Sometimes they do weird things. They don't quite turn correctly, or they do funny things over there. Reduce the likelihood of the battle AI sending units one by one to attack siege gates. Good. It'll make the AI better in sieges. They really did make a lot of siege improvements to Mortal Empires versus the Total Warhammer 1. People who don't like siege battles or really don't like them at all will complain about them anyways, and don't really see the changes. But I did see a lot of changes, and I put them down in the Mortal Empires review that I did. So some of the very specific things that were changed from Game 1 to Game 2 in siege battles did make them a little better. I'm still not a big fan of them, but reducing the likelihood of the battle AI sending units one by one to attack siege gates, good. They're still focusing on it. The siege defender's reinforcing AI is now less likely to hold its ground when entering the battle. Good. Added collision to a large rock at the edge of the infield of a Lizardman battle map. Okay. Improved the matched fatal attack animations for the High Elf Sun Dragon. Alright. No effect to us. Improved Cold One's match combat. Pterodon Riders match combat. Doesn't matter to me. Animation for when a Blessed Carnosaur eats. So they improve the animation when a Blessed Carnosaur eats enemy units. Won't affect us, but it'll be fun to watch. Added more exit. Oh boy. Alright. This could be really. It's not going to make an effect in campaign. It's not going to have a massive effect in camp. Well, it might. So adding more exit points to some battle maps so units route in a better direction. So I would say siege maps, because this is where you get weird routing and really, truly annoying routing is in sieges. When, say, you're defending and you beat a unit on the wall and they route past you right to the center of your city, and then they will rally and then go sit on your capture point and you don't notice them. It's really, really annoying. So hopefully they're looking at that. This might actually be for choke point battles, stuff like that. We'll see. Routing units are no longer able to attack their pursuers. Good. Not that I noticed that, but it won't have a specific effect for the Dowie. Improved how the Soul Leader special ability miscasts. Alright, fix a bug where hell cannons would shoot over the top of their target with certain map topography. Well, that's not good. This will affect the Dowie. One of the hardest single units to deal with is a hell cannon as the Dowie, unless you have gyrocopters. The hell cannons, they really, really hit hard, and they're one of the only artilleries that I worry about. But they're really not very accurate, so that might have been part of some of the reasons they're not accurate. Is there certain map topography they're not they're not actually functioning correctly. So improved cases in choke point battles where battle AI would approach the choke point but not engage the enemy on the other side of it, or stand still on the other side choke point and receive missile damage. I did witness that a few times. I didn't play a lot of choke point battles. I wish they would mark them on the map where they would be, but I definitely noticed that you go to the choke point and the AI would just stand there and just eat arrows. Improve the responsiveness to attacking enemy units on walls when defending a siege battle. All right. Improve the battle AI in the situation where a sieging army has breached a wall with towers and then attempted to exit the settlement back down the siege towers when a gate was closer or more accessible. So just a weird pathing issue, but I'm loving they've really looked at the AI a lot. Like, this is really fantastic. I mean, obviously I only play the DAOE, but I really got to play a campaign. There's a lot of improvements here, like really good ones for the AI that will make campaign, well, make it harder, but it should make it funner. Good job. Fix a bug where the steam tank fatigue would continue to rise when it was sat idle. All right. Alistair, the white lion, can no longer be dismembered because he's a unique hero. Aww. Remove the wind-up time from the Wand of Caradon spell, whatever. Units will now more easily route from the Abyss battle map. Okay. Fix a bug where in some cases rampaging units could follow routing units outside the playable area. Interesting. Lizardmen would be really affected by that if they had a rampaging unit chase a routing, bring it off the map. I don't know what happened. Would they come back? Fixed the Blackfire Pass map where some elements would pop in too obviously. Or maybe some kind of loading issue. Well, tidied up the collision in the Rakato free-for-all battle map. And just a multiplayer improvement. Improved the collision in the Olivale Plain choke point battle map. Here we're seeing some of the multiplayer improvements. Removed an unnecessary impassable area on the Bladewind Pass choke point map. Okay. Tidied up the trees in the Blightwater choke point battle map. You know, like these types of changes, I know I said they're doing a good job, but these types of changes are not done by so many developers. Like this might make it onto a list because I know how companies work. This would make it onto a list somewhere, but they would never get done. They would never apply the resources to it. So these types of little changes are incredibly valuable because what they are demonstrating to us as the players is that they are really getting after making the game better. So I guess why I'm so happy to see things like this, like tidied up the trees in the Blightwater choke point battle map. This is a nothing change, you know. It's nice if you play that map and those trees are annoying or they don't quite look right or everything else like that. But this is nothing that would need to be changed. But what this is saying is that Game 3, it's already looking forward because Mortal Empire's Game 2 has been a lot better than Game 3. So Game 1, so Game 3 is going to be that much and possibly even more fun to play than Game 2. So these types of things, really good, especially considering they're working on Norska, they're working on more factions for DLC for Game 2, and of course they're deep into Game 3 already. So seeing these types of changes, fantastic. The cannot move effect of the net of Amatok now correctly stops skirmishers from pursuing their target with an attack order. Okay. Added collision to an outcrop of rocks across the river of the Frigid Ford choke point. Good. Improved. That's again one of those other awesome little changes that are really nice to see. Improved pterodon movement during melee animations. Okay. Don't know how that'll affect the DAOE, but improve the chances of Eagle Phoenix units using matched combat animations. Okay. When attacking humanoid. Fix the speed buff on the Cavalryman skill. Have zero effect on the dwarves. And even if it's used against you, ooh, fast cavalry coming at you a little faster. You will still not move in both cases. Well, they might come into range of your archers more. This might actually hurt someone playing the dwarfs. When in dispute with a hirsute brute, apply the boot with a firm doot. I love you, CA. This is like, I don't know if that's coming from Games Workshop with a sense of humor, but okay. I love those little notes. All right, improved the collision on the Squiggly Beast battle map and fixed some floating rocks. Speeded up the Hellblaster fire animation. Wouldn't you say sped up? Okay. Not a criticism. I don't mind speeded up. Fixed a bug where the player could put a unit into rampage during a battle, but then break the command by issuing a movement order before they rampage. Okay. This is not going to affect the AI. Fixed cases where Rogue Army Great Cannons couldn't fire in battles. You know, Rogue Armies, I never fought a single Rogue Army in my Mortal Empires campaign, so I think they were bugged. And I don't remember seeing a single one in the whole campaign. Improve the accuracy of Chaos Hell Cannons. Oh boy. So they're fixing bugs with the Hell Cannons and improving the accuracy. Oh, you know what I bet you this means? So a lot of people are thinking that, well, maybe this could be multiplayer, right? Could be a multiplayer issue as well. I was just going to think maybe this is related to the Chaos Dwarves in Game 3, because I think they're going to be there. And I'm telling you what, I cannot wait to play the Chaos Dwarves, to play a truly evil faction, yet a disciplined, doughy, sturdy kind of dwarf, although a little bit twisted. They're going to be so fun to play. So I was thinking, well, maybe they're focusing on Hell Cannons as part of looking at the Chaos Dwarves, but no, that'll be multiplayer related more than likely. Added collision to the Fallen Dwarf statue in the middle of the east side of Death Pass Deep battle map. Good. Movement speed is no longer capped in laboratory mode. All right. Fix some instances where battle AI would not attack when it was clearly in their favor to do so. So I wonder if this will translate to spawn beastmen armies, for example, because a lot of times you'll see them spawn in and they're not at war with anyone, and they'll just go sit by a minor settlement that could never defend itself and raid for 15 turns. So maybe that'll help that along as well. Or I guess they'd have to declare war first, so hopefully that's connected somehow. Fixed a floating water plane in Hellfin battle map. Okay, fixed an issue where some Wood Elf projectiles would always fall short of the target within laboratory mode. Fixed an issue where an army could stand on top of mountains when sieging Mount Arachnos. The Corruptor of Shadowgrave effect will now correctly die out when the enemy Beast Lord has been killed in the Horn of the Wild quest battle. The enemy Beastman Lord will now show correctly within the Horn of the Wild quest battle. Okay. Units can no longer be deployed inside a cliff on blah, 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 blah. Interesting. I wonder if that is... No, this is not just multiplayer. This is siege map when attacking. I wonder what that did precisely. Maybe it's just a weird bug. They're fixing it though. Great. Usability improvements. Okay, cool. General, remove the incorrectly listed life leeching skill from the Lore Master of Hoeth unit page in the game guide. Traditional Chinese subtitles will now work with UI scaling above 100%. I wonder how well the Chinese market is doing with Total War Warhammer, because that Three Empires campaign that's in China is coming out, so hopefully it's doing well over there, and the new Warhammer, the new Total War game, I think it's called the Three Empires. It takes place in China. Will be a big success. It looks really interesting. I can't wait to watch it. I might get it. I don't know. Fix some instances of inconsistent voice acting. I would like to know what that meant. Is that a troll? I don't know. Maybe it's real. Fix the preview images for user-generated custom battle maps. All right. Fix the tooltip on the SSAO option of the advanced graphics settings. Okay, good. It's just it was probably a little bit wonky. I know you mouse over the tooltips to tell you what's going on when you're setting your graphics. Like you go in and to the advanced options and really play with the graphics. No effect to the DAOE though. Brightness and gamma sliders can now be seen to take effect in the game's front end. Might make it easier to see what's going on. Fix the typo and check in the Dragon Cloak of Friskar quest description. Okay. It's again, they're going after improving it in other languages, and I know a lot of this is not just a North American phenomenon. Total War is really truly worldwide, and I know it's very well played in Europe. I wish there was more European streamers and YouTubers though. There's a few really good ones, and I know I'm supposed to get together and play a co-op campaign with Deacon Total War. We haven't been able to get together. It's been just the way our schedules are working out, because I'm okay right now to do it on the weekends. He's okay on the weekdays. So we're going to get together and we're going to make that happen. It's just not happening right away, unfortunately. So campaign. In multiplayer head-to-head Vortex campaign, when both players gain ritual currency at the same time, the currency gained this turn value for the ritual bar tooltip will no longer be doubled down. No, whatever. The text for the epilogue event will no longer appear too long to fit on the screen in certain resolutions. Okay. Fix the subtitles in the Empire Factions Grand Campaign to improve to intro movie in Turkish. Man, they're getting CA's getting after it, and they're getting after it worldwide. I'm really like seeing the improvements. They're really trying to make this the second game here robust. I mean, this is really positive, my DAOE-kin, because the third game's going to be epic, clean, and smooth and flawless when they release it, if they're putting this much focus right now. I'm really happy to see this. One of the positive effects of the Temple of the Mist reduces the movement range of local enemy army units by 20%. Is now correctly colored green instead of red. All right. Fix the No More link on the Menace Below ability, which when mentioned by the advisor. Fix the localization for some Vortex campaign regions in Czech. When multiple campaign cutscenes are queued to place subsequently, pressing escape will now skip all of the cutscenes rather than just the first one. Yay! All right. Legendary Lord. That's just a little quality of life thing. It's again, not required. You can press your escape button twice. It's just like your mind expects you. Oh, I've just finished rendering a video. In your mind, you expect to be able to press it once and get to the next thing. So good job. Legendary Lord conversational voiceover is no longer positioned in 3D space, so it can always be heard if the player moves the camera. Okay. Oh, I see what was going on. Cool. So if you move your camera away, you might move away. It might know you're a long ways away, so you don't hear your Legendary Lord voiceover if you're scanning around the map in like a quest battle or something. I think that's what that means. In multiplayer campaign, when one player attacks a settlement and opened the pre-battle panel and the other player reinforced them, the first player's pre-battle panel would reset. This has been fixed. Good. Fixed a harsh edge in the snow texture displayed in the pre-battle screen in the Palace of Ruin region. Like, I'm telling you what, guys, I'm loving these fixes. Tiny, not required, but they're getting them done. Boy, I just love seeing this stuff. Fixed a lighting issue where the shadow was being cast on the northern area of the Qatar region without an obvious caster. Fixed an inconsistency with the trade icon for known factions between the diplomacy panel and the drop-down list on the right of the campaign HUD. All right, corrected some mistakes in the Polish advisor voiceover during flybys. Good job. I really love Poland. I really want to go to Poland someday. I think hopefully I'll get over there in the next few years. I really want to visit it. Predicted income now updates when, for example, disbanding a general to remove his upkeep cost. So when you let's say you disbanded a general, it would reduce the straight up cost of the general and his army, like if they were costing 5,000 per turn, but it would not update the additional 15% upkeep for all of your armies. So what you had to do was disband the general, and then you had to go click on your gold and unclick it, so it would force update it so you could see what your actual expected income was going to be. It's a nice little thing, tiny but good. Improved how text wraps and fits on the quest panel. Fixed a link in the how they play text for Vlad von Karstein. The movement range display indicating how far an enemy lord at sea is able to attack is now more accurate. Good. Not that that affected me at all, but it just be more accurate is better. The start and end battle options for Quick Head Taker are now displayed in their correct color, blue. Okay, the reward for completing the stave of Ruinous Corruption quest is no longer repeated. The hero and army unit icons no longer remain on land once the unit has embarked into the sea. The Fey Enchantress Bretonia doesn't bob around so much in the campaign portal. Oh, when you're looking at her, okay. In that little thing down in the far left-hand corner, she's bobbing around. I never noticed it, but don't pay much attention to the humans. All right. The attitude displayed during the campaign entrance sequence now correctly represents the player's attitude towards a faction instead of the faction's attitude toward the player. Okay, let me think about this. The attitude displayed during the campaign end turn sequence now correctly represents the player's attitude towards the faction instead of the faction's attitude. Okay, so yeah, because there's always a difference between any two factions and how much they like each other, so that's just changing that a little bit. Fixed where the text, yeah, because like the green skin, like let's say the top knots may have a minus 62 against the red fangs, and you check the red fangs and they only have a minus 20 against the top knots, so I imagine it has something to do with that to be a little more intuitive, so good job. Fixed where the text in the right window said that the player didn't have enough warpstone to perform a ritual. It doesn't affect us. The amount of warpstone on the settlement information tooltip when playing the Skaven is now more frequently updated. Fixed technologies listed in the Mortal Empire's objectives panels in co-op mode. Okay. When starting the Mortal Empire's campaign as Skarsnik of Crooked Moon or Wurzeg of Bloody Hands, the correct Greenskin's loading screen will now show up instead of the Dwarf's loading screen. Aww. It doesn't affect us, but I kind of like that, if you played Skarsnik or Wurzeg, it would pull up the Dwarf loading screen. Now, only if they would make it so that when you used a legendary lord other than Thorgrim, that legendary lord would stay down here all the time. Little things, though, little things. They're doing a great job. No criticism here. Corrected the tooltip. Description for enemy territory right attrition from the great incantation of Xar. Okay. Fixed a multiplayer campaign bug where the number of turns played would sometimes be displayed incorrectly when loading in a saved game. When a player in multiplayer campaign is in the building browser and the other player who is using a horde faction moves a lord in the game will no longer show a broken version of the other player's horde building browser. Weird. That's kind of a weird interaction. You wouldn't think those would, if you're playing a multiplayer campaign, that's something you're doing on your computer would affect something another player is doing on their computer, but I guess it did. Stop the Greyseer Lord from moving around so much on the campaign map when placed into raid stance. Fixed an issue where previously loaded race's music could play when loading a save from another race. Alright. Improved some areas of the shroud on the Vortex map which were incorrectly removing terrain. Oh, I wonder if that's because when you kind of moved around in your campaign map and you went past the vortex, sometimes you really couldn't, it's hard to see things around or behind that vortex. So I wonder if that's what it is. Okay, Carl Francis' idle animation on the campaign map has been visually improved. That's going to be rough as a dwarf to watch that. Fix some instances where the tooltips were not displaying correctly for some buildings within the damaged buildings panel. Alright. A war declared event message is now displayed when an enemy's ally joins the enemy in a war against the player. Okay. So you know how when you're in, if you declare war on the top knots and they have 6 allies, some of them that weren't at war with you could go to war with you and you wouldn't get a war declared event message in your feed, is what I'm guessing that is. Change and incorrect won't affect the campaign a whole lot, but it's good. It just makes it clear. An excellent little improvement. Change an incorrect reference to the morale to leadership in one of the Dwarven naval traits. Okay. Fix a typo in a Dwarven greeting in diplomacy. Grudge narrowly avoided. Whew. No CA. The grudge wasn't avoided. Fix the typo in Heinrich Kemmler's. Fix the gap in the terrain on the Vortex map within the Shifting Sands province. The Gorbel skill tree should now use the correct icons. Fix a typo in Balthasar Gelt's metal to gold magic skill. Fix a typo in Helmut Gorse unnatural. The text in the How They Play screen for Clan Angren should now display correctly. Okay, fix the typo in Thorgrim Grudgebearer's grudge against the elves skill description. I should go look at that. I'm curious what the typo was. Battle. All right. Wow, this is so long. This is completely awesome. This is going to be a long video, but I figured there'd be people like me that just want to go through every single line. For the most part, there's some that I'm skipping over that really have nothing to do with Dowie at all, but I'm going through most of them as they are. So battle. Fixed a bug that caused unit portholes to sometimes become silhouettes when changing graphic settings during a battle. Okay, that's the little thing down there. Added cast animations while Dark Elf Sorceress units on a Dark Pegasus are flying. Okay. Fix the portals in battles when playing with Eyefinity, which weren't displaying correctly in some resolutions. Yeah, more is that hardware support? Fixed a bug which changed the fog and lightning in subterranean battles when the player used the zoom key, N by default. Fixed the Amber Wizard voiceover on the battlefield. He was previously silent in some cases. Fixed the typo in the High Elf Princess loose ability in English. Okay. Soften the edges of the shadows in the far distance on battle maps. See, they're just making the game look better. Love it. The intro for the War Crown of Sapphire Crest battle will no longer be cut off abruptly when loaded through the campaign. Improve the melee sound effects when 2 squig herds attack each other. Okay. Remove some terrain that would appear and disappear depending on the camera angle from the Crooked Fang Fort map. Fixed an issue with text alignment in the Russian and Czech on the laboratory screen. Okay, good job. Exiting the Steam overlay will no longer unpause the game when in battle. Corrected a broken texture on Kolek's Suneater's tail. Fixed some mixing textures on the Orc Boy's teeth and hair. They're loving the orcs right now. They're really buffing them up and they're trying to make them look good. So maybe there's something coming with the orcs too. Female Glade Lords should now play an animation when firing whilst moving. Adjusted lava visuals to remove extremes that cause lava to show as either too dark or too bright. You know, I think this happens lots because artists, when they're drawing stuff and 2D and stuff, they use a lot more color to make things look 3D that's 2D, and it maybe when people are playing with 3D things. They just use more than they need to make it look more, have more contrast, right? And that's clearly what's happened here. Well, some version of that. Lords with long names should now fit correctly in the text box within the post-battle screen. I never did notice that. Fix some black textures on some of the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass Dwarf units. Alright, some more Dowie love. Like it. General AI changes. They've already shown a lot of AI changes, so they're really focusing down the AI. They must have beefed up their team to take a look at this, or change the way they're focusing on this to put this out for this in this patch and this much stuff. I mean, they really are focusing on the AI. AI to respect climates a little more when making an occupation decision. Fantastic. So this will mean the AI is really will make better decisions as where to occupy or sack, or maybe move their army. They're going to maybe try and make them make a little more sense, which is good. If they can only make the AI choose its own province first and finish it, or to go and take over a raised settlement in their province that might sit there for 40 turns. I'm not bitter about Kara Kern at all. AI to use normal personalities on normal difficulty, not easy variants. Interesting. Increased AI priority to attack forces. So they're going to go after forces more so than towns. That'll actually make the AI easier, because I know that could be a little bit, like they might try and skirt away from you and get into a town and you're always chasing them down. So maybe it'll make the game feel better, because you're going to have more battles. The AI will come after your forces instead of, say, going after a nearby town instead. Might make the game a little bit easier. It might also just make it funner, right? So instead of having to chase down the AI, they might just come after you. Defensive personalities behave slightly more defensively. Good. So it's probably one of the ways they have toned down the dwarfs to make them less expansive, because as they were dominating the campaign. Minor improvements to general AI strategic behavior. Clearly, they are thinking about campaign AI and army AI, siege AI, pathing. They're really, like, this is really impressive, because this is only January, and they didn't need to do all this stuff. They've done a lot. Maybe they must have had a real good New Year's party, got over their hangover, and they have come back and gotten to work. Very good job. AI more likely to declare war on factions that own victory condition regions. Awesome. AI to switch from early to mid-game behavior earlier makes the AI more active on the map and in diplomacy. Okay, so this will actually help the Dowie, I would think, because it's probably more likely that instead of you having to search out other factions, that they might run into a territory that you can see, so you will get earlier trade agreements in general, I would guess, as the Dowie. Like, you might see an Estalian boat do something that normally it wouldn't if they're being a little more expansive, and get a trade agreement with them earlier. So I think that's all good, and only good. Added AI victory condition regions for a few Mortal Empire factions. Okay. Reduced chance of AI using request and offer to join war diplomatic action. So reduce the chance of AI using requests. Oh, this is really good. So I just kind of dawned on me. This is a possible reason. This is not going to matter as much between you as a player and the AI. I think this was where this will matter a little more, is the AI diplomatic interactions, because maybe sometimes you get these weird, an AI declares war on you from across the map and you don't know why the hell happened. Maybe this is where some of that could have been coming from, where there was an AI trade agreement or peace treaty, and part of the mathematical interaction to make peace, one AI would either offer to join a war against another faction or request the other faction to join one of their wars, and then you get these weird wars. So good. This could actually be this could make a big difference in the campaign. It says general AI changes, but if that's what this is doing and it's going to stop some of those weird, it's not a big difference, but it's a nice difference. Skaven now included in the great power mechanic, yet we know that. Greenskins, a steady low increase of fightiness for AI greenskins. Oh, great. So what this means is there's going to be more WAs. Okay. Increased recruitment capabilities for greenskins. That's going to... The green... Like, I'm going to have to play just a Thorgrim campaign to test this out. Minor improvements to construction and recruitment for greenskins. So, it looks like they added some of those financial buildings, and they're probably going to give them a little bit better recruiting and construction, maybe a script, or I don't know exactly how they make them do it, but hopefully the two things that we'll see out of this is that the greenskins will be a little more robust. They're pretty good already. I mean, they're not awful, but they'll be a little more robust. But the big thing I would like to see this with the construction and recruitment improvements is that they will get into their mid-tier and high-tier units faster, so that you don't see Grimgor, controlling a full army of orc boys and, goblin archers. Hopefully by mid-game, if he's still around, he's going to have some big guns and black orcs and these kinds of things. And the same with all the other greenskin AI factions. So these are going to be... These are, I think, are going to add up to make the early Dwarf campaign quite a bit more difficult, and transitioning into mid-campaign take a little longer. So also maybe change a little bit of your choices as a player. Like, you're probably going to be even better off to go north first and pick up Mount Gunbat, and then possibly go up past Karak Kadrin and grab the gold mine to the far north and focus down, I think it's the Red Eyes, or I can't remember which faction is up there, and then really come down with a strong economy behind you when you come into the greenskins. Norska, reduced income, yay! Reduced financial budget in the early game. So Norska, in so many campaigns, were just dominating the north because they had a good income and a lot of cheap infantry that they could swarm with. And this is why the vampire counts are really, I think, stronger early game than late game. Is not that they're weak late game, but that early game they can raise dead and pick up so many cheap units and field cheap armies. So good. That'll be a positive. So hopefully when Norska proper comes into the game with Throg and Wolfric the Wanderer, they re-look at the balance here to make sure that they're fun and they don't just die or something. Auto-resolve changes, okay. Auto-resolve damage output now constant. Fixed auto-resolver producing invincible units in very rare cases. Alright, fixed auto-resolver not counting reinforcements correctly in some cases. Auto-resolve damage output now constant. That everyone gets the same damage? Is that what that means? So there's two weird things that would happen in auto-resolve. And one is that you auto-resolve through, and for example, either your real low-tier units like miners or your high-tier units like you start with hammers with Thorgrim would take a disproportionate amount of the damage. Or you would, have a battle that you win pretty handily, yet you would lose a rune smith or a thane because reasons. So maybe this will be interesting. Maybe when you auto resolve, everybody takes the same amount of damage, period, like as a percentage. So you don't have these weird things where you lose a single unit. It might be you could still use a single unit. So let's say you had 15 units with full health, 5 units with 50% health, or 4 units with 50% health, and 1 unit with 10% health. If they all lost a constant as a percentage of their total hit points, you might lose the unit with 10% health and have the ones with 50% health at 10% and the ones with 100% health at 60% health. I'll have to test that as soon as that comes out. It'd be interesting. If that's the case, I think it's a good thing. It's kind of weird and sort of frustrating when you lose units that don't seem to make sense. Like a lot of auto resolves that you go through, you'll lose some units and you're kind of okay with it. But sometimes it's like if you're going to lose, a hero unit, you might just push him out of your army just to make sure he survives. So interesting. We'll see how that plays out. It should be fun. Difficulty changes. Reduced upkeep bonus for AI. So they're making the AI easier. Removed economy bonus for AI. Reduced late game scaling of AI economies. Why would they do that? The AI in the late game was fine. Okay. Maybe that's just on lower difficulties. Increased recruitment capacity for AI based on difficulty. Okay. All right. So you play on easy, the recruitment capacity for AI will be lower. You play on legendary, it will be much higher. Good. Reduced construction and recruitment costs for AI based on difficulty. So what this looks like they're doing with reducing the upkeep bonus. So reduced, it's like it's like kind of a double negative. You reduced the bonus, so you've just reduced upkeep for AI. Okay, but they've reduced the construction and recruitment costs. So what this should actually functionally do is have the AI recruiting through armies more quickly. So they have a few less armies. But they will recruit new armies more quickly. So hopefully that will help in their recruiting. Remove free technologies for AI and scaled based on difficulty. So the AI has no free techs anymore. And now it's scaled based on difficulty. Interesting. Okay. Research rate reduced for AI based on difficulty. Okay, so easy difficulty, their research rate is low. For legendary, their research rate is awesome. Sure. I wonder how that'll play out. Like maybe this might actually this in itself may based on difficulty. I wonder if this changes what the research rate will be on legendary if it just scales down. But hopefully what it does is it lets the AI scale into the late game nicely, because in the late game they did a good job in Mortal Empires. I had still had a lot of fun battles in the late campaign, but why you would do that or make sure they have a higher research rate and these types of things is because the AI can't choose what it wants next as effectively as a person can. So the difference in relative, we'll call it power, in the late game was a lot more noticeable because you as a player focus your techs, your army skills, your army composition, and all these things to dovetail, where the AI can't really do a good job of that. So this may help scale into the end game. I would think it will, but it may not. We'll see. It'll be interesting. Battle changes. Minor reduction in MD gain from unit rank increases. Okay, so a melee defense. So minor reduction in melee defense gain from unit rank increases. So When you get a chevron, you don't gain as much melee defense. I don't know if these are a discrete number or if the number you see is a rounded version of it. Like, for example, reduction in melee defense gained from unit rank increases. So you go to rank 1, maybe you get melee defense +1, so now will it be +9 or +0.9? And then when you go through and you do that 6 times, it'll be at 54, which will stay at 5 as a discrete number, which is displayed, but it will actually be 0.54. I don't know exactly how that works. I kind of wonder, because there's a few little weird things that go on with chevrons and how their numbers show. Minor cost increase to a unit rank. Oh, minor cost increase to unit rank increases. Oh, man. That's actually a good thing. So I will try and release my video this weekend, showing the research I was doing on dwarf infantry versus lizardmen infantry, and I found some interesting things. And one of the things was the chevroning up certain units could have a pretty good effect, and beyond what you would think, right? Like, it was an increase in value. You're better off to buy a lower tier unit and chevron it up in some cases because of the inexpensiveness of the chevron itself compared to the next unit up. So we'll see how that is. If they go up from 20 gold per chevron to 21, not a big deal. If it goes from 21 to 24, that might start to change that value proposition during the analysis. But I'll try and get that video together this weekend. We'll let it drop, and then I'll do some post Tomb Kings testing to see how much it's changed, just so I capture it as a snapshot in time. So if you ever go back and look in a year, you can say, okay, this is how these things functioned at this point in time. So you always can kind of go back and look at it. So bracing bonus now caps at 6 ranks, previously 7. Okay. Tower firing rates increased. That's actually good. So one of the changes from the first game to the second game is, the first game, your towers would obliterate every siege engine just about every time before they ever got to your walls. In the second game, none of your towers could ever defeat a siege engine. So your towers were still good enough, and they could, but it took a lot longer to defeat siege engines, and it wasn't even worth firing on them, or say to take out enemy artillery or something. So that's actually pretty good. It'll make settlements more defensible, settlements with walls, that is. Minor increase to vigor recovery when in idle. All right, this is actually going to benefit the Dawi more than any other faction, and by a significant amount. So it's minor, but it's good in campaign, and I can't see it in multiplayer because I don't know. The only time you're going to sit in idle in multiplayer is if you've forgotten your unit, so it may have a very, very slight impact in multiplayer. But basically, the reason this is so valuable for the Dawi is that a vigor loss impacts melee defense and your effective armor the most out of any of the other things. That, it affects your speed, it affects your melee attack, your charge bonus, all these other things, but it affects your melee defense and your armor usage the most. And the dwarves, as a faction, have the highest average armor and highest average melee defense of any other faction, and those are the two hardest hit when you become exhausted or tired in battle. So this vigor affects the dwarfs more than any other faction, and it's not by a little, it's by a lot. So that helps, might help a little in campaign. We'll see. All breath attack cooldown times increased to 60 seconds, and damage reduced or shifted from single target damage to area of effect. So this is going to make a big difference in multiplayer. So obviously dragons and breath attacks have been powerful in multiplayer. I've seen some multiplayer battles where they are, I would say objectively ridiculous, where you get your dragon. I mean, you get your dragon to hit a enemy hero and just not one shot him, but really hurt him. So, and then increased the cooldowns is good. So the dragons are quite powerful. But I mean, I don't know how that'll affect the campaign balance. I haven't played dragons. I haven't played against dragons. I haven't played multiplayer for a long time, and that's why I'm getting back into my Essential Units series, because I'm just starting to research to get back into multiplayer, I think. So note that most accuracy changes below are very minor adjustments. So reduce the attack rate of chariots when repeatedly colliding with the same target. That's good for the Dwarf. Infantry characters should now be knocked around less frequently than before. Good. That is huge for the Dwarf. That is one of the things, like, unless you're on Thorgrim or a Rune Lord with his Rune Bearers, your lords just get bounced around by anything that can bounce around a unit. Like Ungrim, some of the other testing I've done is, say, Ungrim versus Krokgar, and Krokgar can just bounce Ungrim around repeatedly, non-stop, so that Ungrim can maybe get in 2 shots before he gets killed. And this happens a lot. So this is really an animation trigger of some sort, because you can be knocked back without actually taking damage. So it's your animation triggers and your damage calculations are actually different, because the animation triggers, I think, are just based on the two characters making some sort of contact, and as soon as they make that contact, then it does the calculation to see whether or not they've actually taken any damage. And that's why, for example, in game 1 and early on in the Ironbreakers could get into kind of a weird stagger animation loop where they could be hit 7 or 8, 9 times by a Black Orc and only return 1 axe blow. It didn't happen all the time, but when you have 60 versus 60 units or 80 versus 80, it doesn't have to happen all the time to make a pretty big difference in the net outcome of the battle. So category caps, max 9 for missile infantry, monsters and beasts, cavalry and chariots, doom wheels. So this is interesting. So this is good. So this for multiplayer, I think. Yeah, in quick battle, good. I would really love to, so they're doing balancing in multiplayer. They've got, the King of the Hill battles. I would love to see CA take multiplayer to the next level, to envision it as I know they've got, I can't remember the name of the game they have that is really meant to be an online multiplayer kind of game where you only have 3 units and you play with 4 other players and they all have 3 units and you play a battle like that. I can't remember what it's called, but I would love to see them envision this as an esport. Not that I think it will get to esport levels. I'm not saying it will, but there's no reason to think that if they didn't do a good enough job on balancing and how they considered these things, that it couldn't be good enough so that we'd see more competitive play, even if we didn't get to an esport sort of level. But I think, they might be able to get there. And the thing is, if they started with that vision of how could we make quick battles or competitive battles interesting enough, or more interesting, so they would be even more entertaining to watch when they're cast. Like, I've watched some casters that I love watching their quick battles. Like a Party Elite or Turn I love watching him cast battles or fight battles and stuff like that. But focusing more on making them even more interesting, or different ways to do that, I think could be really good. So hopefully this is, it's a step in the right direction, but it's, the first step in 10,000. Unit balancing. Okay, here we go. Beastmen. Bestigor plus 50 multiplayer cost. -1 melee defense. Ooh, so they've really hurt Bestigors for the Beastmen. So Beastmen must be doing real good multiplayer right now with their Bestigors. Ungor Herd, -1 leadership, +1 CB. Charge bonus. Ungor Spearman Herd, minus 1 HP. Ungor Spearman Herd Shields, minus 1 leadership, minus 1 HP, minus 25 cost. Okay, so they protect their flanks a little bit better. Gore Herd, plus 1 melee defense, plus 2 speed, plus 50 multiplayer cost. Alright. With a shield version, plus 1 melee attack, plus 2 speed, and plus 50 multiplayer cost. So this is actually a nice little balancing thing, because you do see the Gore Herds, or the units without shields, have a big, generally have a pretty big reduction, or a pretty big increase in melee defense compared to the same unit without shields, and so they're just making them a little more robust in defense, the Gore Herds, and the shields, making them have a little more attack. With Lizardmen, though, that's one area where their Saurus Warriors, and Saurus Warriors with shields, I mean, they have the exact same melee attack. The shielded version only has plus 6 melee defense. They're huge weapon strength and everything else like that. So a very good unit. So I don't know if they'll be going more that way, but it looks that way, where they're bringing shielded units closer to their unshielded version. I'm not too certain what the reasoning for that would be, but anyway, Centaurs all minus 2 hit points. All right. Centaurs with great weapons, remove splash attacks, reduces inconsistent power spikes in some matchups, plus 2 charge bonus. So, okay, so Centaurs with great weapons having splash attacks, maybe there's some where some matchups where those splash attacks could make a pretty big difference. Razor Gore Herd, plus 6 HP, plus 3 leadership. That'll be annoying. To see more Razor Gores, Manticores, minus 0.4 attack interval. So Manticores will be more powerful. Manticores aren't really that tough. They're not difficult to fight against, so maybe giving them a little more, just a little more damage, right? That's what that's going to be, is DPS, or damage per second increase. So Cygor, minus 10 marksmanship, good. It's ridiculous. They only have one eye. They don't even have any depth perception. How could they hit anything from 400 meters away? It's no way. I'm not bitter. Not even a little. A giant, plus 410 hit points. Good. I actually like that. Giants are really, well, it'll make it a little harder for the dwarves, but giants are really easy to take out. I mean, as the dwarves in campaign, and even in multiplayer, if you have any kind of ranged. They have very low armor, right? So they're very vulnerable. So plus 410 hit points, good. Khazrak, minus 50 cost. Okay, we'll see what that does to multiplayer. So we'll see more of Khazrak One Eye. So Bretonnia, most melee infantry, plus 1 to 2 hit points. So you get a little more hit points, or you're a little more robust in the front line. And no, Bretonnia was languishing in multiplayer, so that's going to make a pretty big difference. Like these changes, I like these changes. None of these are really that big. They seem to be kind of honing in on that balance, because some of the changes they made in the past were pretty large. This is small, plus 1 to 2 hit points. Good. Spearmen at Arms and Shield, minus 25 multiplayer. Men at Arms, minus 25 multiplayer cost. Men at Arms with Polearms, minus 25 multiplayer cost. Again, good job. That seems like small potatoes, but it really adds up over the course of spending 12,400 gold, right? Foot Squires, plus 1 speed. All right. Peasant Bowmen, fire arrows, minus 50 cost. Ooh. Minus 2 regular projectile damage, plus 1 AP. Ooh. Okay. So that's something like plus 1 AP for a Peasant Bowman. It's really big. They don't have much AP. I think they might have 4 AP or something like that. So that's a 20% boost to their AP, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if they fire away for 3 to 5 minutes in a battle, it's a lot. Peasant Bowman, Pox Arrows, minus 50 cost. So good. One of the things I liked about the original Bretonnia is they really didn't have a whole lot of units, so they had really kind of peasant armies with cavalry like you'd expect. And so I guess bringing more Peasant Bowmen back into the meta will be great. it'll be great to watch. I don't know if they'll stay there if minus 50 cost is enough. Knights Errant, plus 3 HP, plus 2 charge bonus. Questing Knights, minus 6 charge bonus, plus 2 melee attack, plus 1 base damage, plus 2 AP damage, plus 1 attack interval. Interesting. Were they getting into a weird animation loop themselves? Basically, they've buffed them and nerfed them. Right? They have more AP damage, more base damage, more melee attack, but they do all of that less often. I mean, I think the melee attack, the attack interval is around 3.6 seconds, so it'll be 3.7 seconds, so it's not like it's a giant amount, but, you know, they have plus 1 base damage. I don't know what Questing Knights have for damage. It was probably like, you know, 35 or 40, I don't know. Grail Guardians, minus 3 regular damage, plus 4 AP. Oh, see, anytime you see plus AP damage, that means bad for dwarfs. Really bad. Because that's, you know, that's the dwarfs, that's the Dowie signatures, high armor, high melee defense. So plus 4, plus AP is bad for us. Plus 1 melee attack, plus 2 charge bonus, plus 2 hit points, minus 5 speed, plus 50 multiplayer cost. So maybe they're trying to separate Grail Guardians out from something that's a little closer, giving them more AP, you know, making them a little stronger in melee, a little less speed, but upping their costs. So this is something that I think the Steel Faith mod has really taken on as a focus in their modification, is to try and make each unit within a faction have a clear place, a clear kind of slot or role at the price point, where units don't flow together, or like say units that are very, very close in cost or relatively close in cost and capabilities, you know, you might take 2 instead of 1, and that's okay, that's pretty much the same thing. So maybe they're trying to separate the units a little bit in terms of their function in a battle and their cost and what they can do. So that's only a good thing for multiplayer. Although I'm not a Bretonnia player, and I don't know how Bretonnia players will feel about that. But there's going to be no Bretonnia player that's upset about getting AP damage. I'll guarantee you that. Grail Knights, minus 3 regular damage, plus 3 AP damage, minus 2 melee attack, minus 2 charge bonus. That minus 2 melee attack is a pretty big deal. Like melee attack and melee defense. If I had to put it to a cost, one stat point is probably worth 15 gold. So minus 2 melee attack it's like you're increasing the cost by 30 gold. You know, or, you know, 40, 50 gold, something like that. It depends on how everything, but, you know, they have more AP damage, but they're going to hit less, but they're going to do more AP damage. So I don't know what Grail Knights do right now. I don't know if they're armor piercing, but AP damage is always a good thing. Minus 2 charge bonus. So charge bonuses are funny things, because they only last for 11 seconds. So if you're really good at, that's why in multiplayer it is so much more difficult with the dwarfs than in campaign, because in campaign the AI is not as good at cycle charging, though they do cycle charge, but against a good player in multiplayer who uses their cav well, oh boy, they can do a good job of that. They can really hurt you, unless you can set and use your melee defense against charge, because you have a lot of units that have it, but it's hard to set up to accept the charge. So the negative charge bonus is not a really big thing. The melee attack and plus AP damage are big things. Mounted Yeoman Archers, minor accuracy buff. Not going to affect us. We'll wreck them no matter when we see them or where they have no range, so it doesn't matter to the Dowie. Pegasus Knights, plus mass, plus 4 charge bonus. Okay. Though they're going to just be a little more disruptive when they land. Pegasi all, plus 10 ground speed. Okay. Royal Hippogriff Knights, plus 2 melee defense. They're going to be more robust. Minus 4 regular damage. Plus 9. Oh, plus 9 AP. Yikes. So Royal Hippogriff Knights are going to land on the charge, so they're going to hit pretty frequently, and plus 9 AP damage, they are going to be a lot more devastating out of the sky. Plus 2 melee, and they're going to be a little more survivable when they land. Trebuchet, plus accuracy, plus 10 explosion damage, plus 5 explosion AP. Ah, what a crock of BS. Bretonia. The Trebuchet, plus 10 explosion damage. Oh, whatever. Fair enough, that is their only artillery. I guess I should... You know, who am I? Who am I as a Dowie with, you know, 4... what do we got? 2, 4... 5, 6, 7 different kinds of artillery, if you include the Regiment of Renown. Complaining about Bretonia's one piece of artillery that never gets used because it's not useful enough, getting a bit of a buff. I guess that's a little uncalled for. All artillery crew, plus 3 hit points. So they're going to get charged, and what is that going to do? Nothing. They're gonna if artillery, it doesn't even matter if you're got dwarfs. If your artillery gets charged, they get beat up and they're gonna rout. You know, instead of 3 hit points, if you want to make artillery better, make them turn faster. You know, make them target faster. Green Knight, now armor piercing. Sheesh. Oh. So now the Green Knight is armor piercing, minus 150 base damage, plus 120 AP, minus 40 armor. Dolores Blade redesigned, synergized with AP damage profile, minus 50 cost. Oh my god. The Green Knights are already pretty good. He's gonna be a beast. You won't see him in campaign, but in multiplayer, there's gonna be there's gonna be no match where you play against Bretonia where they don't bring the Green Knight. Plus 120 AP damage. Just chew through your lords, because Dowie only have two lords. Well, I guess they have one hero with AP damage, but it's stuck on your darn engineer, your master engineer, when it should be on your Thane. But your master engineer has AP melee damage for some reason. But it's only Ungram and Grombrindle that have strong AP damage. Thorgrim has magical, but you know, your regular Lord, Rune Lord, and Belagar don't have AP. Good AP, anyways. King Lewin, Hippogriff, plus 100 cost. Well, maybe we'll see Lewin a little less. Albric, plus 3 melee attack, and Albric a little more. Paladin, minus 25 cost, minus 75 for Pegasus. Okay. So, in general, Bretonia's, for multiplayers, got a pretty solid buff. I would say. I don't see a whole lot of negative in here. You know? And maybe they will have a usable piece of artillery that may give them the option to use it. Because, you know, the thing that's the biggest here, the explosion damage... the explosion AP damage, but the biggest thing is the accuracy. Because those trebuchets really aren't very accurate. Like, you can exchange fire. If you just spaghetti your lines a little bit, they're just not going to hit very often. So that, depending on how much accuracy the trebuchet gets, that will be the key. But it might give Bretonia a reasonable artillery option. I mean, I don't know why with... the Cav you have as Bretonia and the other units, why you'd take a defensive stance, but I mean, it's probably good reasons. I've seen Bretonia using trebuchets, and you know, I guess with good reason. It gets it's in context of the faction you're facing and what you're trying to do. So yeah, okay. Bretonia just looks significantly better. You know, less expensive. More AP damage by quite a bit. A better artillery option, though I doubt the trebuchet is going to would really see a lot of play. Maybe it will. Green Knight, way better. You're going to see the Green Knight a lot in all multiplayer, I would think. And if you're the Dowie, you will see him every time, I would think. With 120 extra AP damage. Oof. And he's ethereal. I think he's ethereal. Yeah. So the only you know, I guess you have some ethereal units if you're playing Clan Angren, but it's only Thorgrim that does magic damage, and it's you know, more of an area of effect. But I guess Thorgrim could do a good job against him. But your runesmith's Rune of Wrath and Ruin is going to do nothing to a Green Knight because it's not meant for single target. So the Green Knight could be pretty devastating against the dwarves, and you'll see the Green Knight quite a lot more, I would imagine. And Lewin less. You know, 100 cost is a lot in multiplayer. It might not seem like a lot, but it really is a lot for that Hippogriff, and that's where you always see Lewin on that Hippogriff, so you can come in, dive bomb, get in some heals, and go and regenerate into the air. So let's see Chaos. Chaos Warriors +2 melee attack. Oh, well, it's not a really big deal. Chosen, all +1 HP, good. Chosen with great weapons, +2 melee attack, +2 melee defense, +2 AP damage, +50 melee multiplier cost. What the hell? Why would they be doing this? I mean, they're already a very expensive unit. I mean, this melee defense and melee attack. So, you know, what your chosen and your really expensive units are vulnerable to is not other units as much as magic or like artillery. Like, you know, when you get your really, really expensive units, the problem is not as much other units as it is these special abilities where, you know, like Fate Abuna or something like that can take out half of a unit, and that's why Rune of Wrath and Ruin is so powerful, because it's pretty consistent across all units regardless of their hit points. So you hit Chosen or Chosen with great weapons with these abilities, and it really makes a big impact. So giving them more skills, or sorry, more stats, and making them more expensive can't be the right direction. Chosen with halberds +1 HP, in addition to the +1 above. Chosen all +1. They're making the halberds a little more separate from the great weapons, I guess, maybe because halberds have AP, armor piercing, so they're trying to, I guess, separate great weapons versions from halberds. Marauder Horseman, Javanax, minor buffs to mobility. Alright. Marauder Horseman, -25 to melee multiplayer cost, +2 melee defense. That's a pretty nice little buff, actually, for Marauder Horseman. Chaos Knights all +2 hit points, a little more beefy. Chaos Knights with lances, -1 regular damage, +1 AP. Gorby's Chariot, +2 melee attack, +2... Ah, frick. I frickin' hate chariots, and that's going to make it even harder. Hell Cannon, reworked homing missile parameters. They have higher accuracy, -15 ammo, roughly -20% reload time and damage. The inconsistent damage output of this weapon was very fitting for the faction, but not the most fun to play with. That's true, I could see that. More shots per minute, higher accuracy, and less damage make it a bit more predictable, while reducing the benefit of using the manual fire mode. Ah! So, yeah, okay, good. People would use the manual fire mode and could do really well with it. Okay, so they're giving it less ammo, making it fire a lot faster, make it way more accurate by the looks of it, and less damage. Okay, so this is really definitely a pure multiplayer change. I don't know how much of a difference it'll make in campaign, because usually, you know, when you're dwarves playing against chaos and all those, they can be annoying. I mean, but if you have gyrocopters, or maybe you could send around rangers to kind of ambush them. I don't know. We'll see, but they have a lot less ammo, but they're going to get rid of it and use it a lot better. So it could make a pretty big impact. It'll definitely make an impact in multiplayer for chaos, and it is something that will be worthwhile for chaos to bring against the dwarfs. So you'll probably see that Hell Cannon a lot more, because they are pretty hard to counter battery. Dragon Orders, +2 leadership, +2 melee defense. So a lot. It seems small, like +2 leadership and +2 melee defense, but it's big. They're going to be a lot tankier. They're going to last. You know, when I say a lot, that's maybe it's a little strong, but collect the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, -2 charge bonus. Okay. Kolek and Kolek Sun Eater plus 100 cost. Okay, so we won't see Kolek as much in multiplayer. Giant plus 410 HP, still good. Dragon Mounts plus 100 cost. Okay. Archaon on foot plus 15 base damage plus 35 AP plus 2 max splash attacks targets. Okay, so Archaon's going to be much better on foot. Plus 2 max splash attack targets. That's a pretty big deal. Maybe he might have had 6 before and now he'll have 8. Like, so Thorgrim and Belagar for the Dowie both can hit 8 targets in their splash attacks. And then I think a regular Dwarf Lord and I can't remember, hit 7. I think Ungrim only hits 6, and I think that's the same as Grombrindle. I'm not sure, but these plus 2 max splash targets are going to make Archaon a lot better on foot if he gets tangled up with a unit. Archaon Dorgar plus 15 base damage plus 35 AP plus 2 mass splash attack plus 328 health. They're really making an effort to make Archaon better. I like this, and I would like to see them, you know, maybe not balance it so that the iconic legendary lords are the clear choice in multiplayer all the time, but I would like to see them always be an option, if that makes sense. And you didn't see Archaon a lot. You see Kolek Sun Eater, and then maybe, I don't think about, you see that what's his name, you know, the blonde in the mirrored armor, sometimes because he has regeneration, and you see the bird, because he has like something like 70% physical resist and he can move around, but you don't see him very often. But you never see Archaon at all, so that's good. Did they reduce his cost? Did I see that? They're just making him more powerful. Zigval, yeah, Zigval plus 40 base damage plus 20 AP plus 100 cost. Right. So they're giving him more health to take advantage of his regen. Plus 20 AP. He's going to be a lot tougher. Chaos Lord's Foot Chaos Steed Manticore plus 20 base plus 20 AP plus 5 health plus 100 cost. So all these, in effect, I guess, will make Archaon a better choice because everyone else is more expensive relative to Archaon. So it's like Archaon's cost was reduced. I don't know why you need to add cost to Chaos, though. Chaos is an expensive army already. I guess, you know, what do I know? This might, I just don't know. Maybe they're going to, I don't know. I wonder what Chaos players would have to say about this. Whatever. Dark Elves. Oh, Dwarves are right next. I saw it. I kind of remember a few of them, but I just really skimmed this. So Dark Elves, Black Ark Corsairs plus 50 cost, Shades plus 50 cost, Shades plus 2 charge bonus, Witch Elves, Poison Speed debuff reduced to minus 20, duration reduced by 1 second by 1 second minus. So Witch Elves are a funny unit because they're one of those units that, I mean, if you counter them, like, you really counter them hard. But if they get in there and they get going and they're really well managed, they're really powerful. Reaper Bolt Thrower plus 2 speed, plus 10 range. You know, it is their only artillery, Two Devil. It's okay. Other people can have good artillery too. You have to be okay with that. It's plus 10 range, plus 2 speed, okay. Cold One Dread Knights plus 4 melee defense. War Hydra plus 100 hit points. And another takes its place, plus 1 max units. Okay. War Hydra is going to be better. Dreadlords, Dark Pegasus mount cost reduced by 50. Okay. Marathi. Sulafet mount cost reduced by 50. So we might see more Marathi, we'll see. Malekith, Seraphon plus 150 cost, and Dragon Mouse plus 100 cost. So that's a pretty big debuff, you know, to Dark Elves in the Sun Elves. So you should see more Marathi, less Malekith. I don't know if it'll change the meta, but 150 cost, like, this is a 200 gold differential by going with a Marathi on her Black Pegasus to Malekith on Seraphon. So that 200 gold is quite a bit. Marathi has pretty good spells, so I know Malekith is really, really strong, but we might see a little bit of change there. All right, time for the Dowie. My kin. Longbeards. -2 charge bonus. Oh, no. What? -2 hit points? See, this is bad. +40 mass. +40 mass is really good. Okay, that was a really needed change. -2 hit points, we'll see. So that's -2 hit points per unit. Right? -2 charge bonus. I'm going to get my analysis out. So I get a snapshot of it. Because that's going to make a difference. Longbeards with great weapons. +1 regular damage. -1 AP, -2 hit points, +40 mass. That's definite. See that, like, minus AP, that is a big debuff. -2 hit points, +40 mass. So I guess Longbeards are going to be a lot better against Cav, against big units. That's good, but less hit points and less AP. I don't know how I feel about that. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, -2 melee defense. Not good. So, Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are extremely good. So, does that mean it's fair? But they're not just good, they're very good for their price. Ironbreakers, all +2 hit points, good. +2 AP damage. Oh, and +70 mass. This is fantastic. This is something that Ironbreakers have needed for a long time. So one of the problems with Ironbreakers is Ironbreakers are very good. Don't get me wrong. One of the problems with them, though, is they're an incredibly expensive unit. Okay? And they will hold forever, but they can't kill anything. So your Ironbreakers can be held up by a pretty weak unit. Like, not a weak unit, but a unit that, if they're... I think their cost is 1,200. I'm not 100% sure. But if you were fighting Saurus warriors with shields, I mean, Saurus warriors will actually stay in there for a very long time. So you have a unit that costs 800 gold tying down a unit that costs 1,200 gold for a very long time. That +2 AP damage is massive, because I think they might only have like 6 AP, or I can't remember. I'll have to go in and look. I don't know it off the top of my head. And this +70 mass, that is a big positive. Now, I hope that stops them from staggering in that staggering animation, and I hope that makes it feel like if someone tries to crash into your Ironbreakers with, chariots or something, they're going to feel like they're crashing. They're more like they're crashing into a brick wall instead of right now where they send half your Ironbreakers flying half a mile. So this is really good. This is a big buff, and it might bring Ironbreakers into the game a little bit. Like in multiplayer especially, you just don't see a lot of really expensive units, with the exception of lords, like that, or flying lords particularly, or lords with lots of magic. But you don't see really a whole lot of really expensive singular units because they're very risky. If you brought the Peakgate Guard, who costs 1,500 gold, for example, they're awesome. They are unreal. They chew through everything they touch. But, Crockguard comes in there and takes one charge and kills a bunch of them. And a little magic attack and one or two shots from a solar engine. And that unit is at 50% right away. So it's a really big risk. So hopefully this will help bring Ironbreakers into the multiplayer scene a little bit more. You don't see them a whole lot. It is generally a passion pick as opposed to an objectively good pick in a multiplayer battle. But hopefully that does help them a little bit. That mass AP, this AP, I can't. This is absolutely massive. Only +2 AP doesn't seem like much, but trust me, it's a lot. This is changing. I mean, something that's going to take a battle that will take 4 minutes or 3 minutes to a battle that will take 2 minutes. It's a very big difference. Rangers, -2 melee defense plus acceleration. What the hell is acceleration? Am I missing something? Does this mean they start running faster? Or they get up to their top speed faster, so they feel a little bit more nimble? Maybe. -2 melee defense, it's not great. This is, so the dwarves are being definitely toned down a little bit. Bugman's Ranger +4. Ooh, +4 melee attack, +4 hit points, plus charge defense versus large, plus acceleration, +10 mass? Holy crap. Huh. So, this is pretty big. This means the Bugman's Rangers, they have regeneration on top of all this. I mean, they're not going to be good against the charge. I mean, they're not going to be good against cavalry out by themselves. But charge defense against large, they're not going to get so obliterated. +4 melee attack, +4 hit points are going to be a lot more robust, take more advantage of their regen ability, and +10 mass. But they're expensive. They're 750 gold, I think, a piece, compared to, say, 500 gold for a regular ranger. So that's why you wouldn't see them very much, because they also, on top of all these things, and even though they have some cool things like this regeneration, I mean, they need the same protection as a regular ranger does, or, you know, just a quarreler. So this is actually quite interesting. That's actually extremely interesting. I wonder how they'll do with this plus acceleration in terms of skirmishing with other skirmishing units. They're still slow because they're dwarfs, but that'll be interesting. Iron Drakes, -100 MP multiplayer cost. Awesome. I mean, hopefully we see more Trollhammer torpedoes and flamethrowers and this kind of thing. Brimstone plus accuracy. A gyrocopter with a brimstone gun plus accuracy. That's fantastic because they miss a lot. Gyro bomber and gyrocopter, lowered activation duration of bomb ability, allowing rapid drop. This is actually really big. So this is not what gyrocopters need. You know, this is not their problem. It'll be nice, you can drop your bombs faster, so you can get rid of both your bombs on a brimstone gun or a regular gyrocopter very, very effectively. That's good. This is not what gyrocopters need. What gyrocopters need is to be able to not get absolutely trashed in the air by any other air unit. Like a unit of bats can trash a gyrocopter, which is a tragedy. Gyrocopters should have very little melee attack and a giant melee defense to make them like other dwarves. And they right now they have not decent, but they have a normal melee attack, and they have no melee defense. So even though, yeah, bats don't have a lot of armor piercing, they just take them out because the gyrocopters cycle through a stagger animation, and I mean, gyrocopters, like, they just need to be way more robust in the air. I know they're fast, like 110 speed, so they're quite good, but you know, a unit of bats that costs what, 350, taking out a gyro bomber that's 1100. Without any issues, that's the problem. You know, I don't know. I think they need a lot. Like, if you give them a lot better melee defense, so they can withstand an attack by a bat, what you can do is at least you can, if they're in melee with a bat, you can try and cross support them from the ground, kill all the bats from the ground with your quarrelers and or something like that. But yeah. Gyrocopters are literally helpless against other flying units, which is their major weakness, and they're even more helpless against ranged units on the ground because they get into this weird stagger animation, unlike other flying units. All right. Gyrocopter and Skyhammer +10 ground speed. Okay. Clattergun rebalance. Now it is a small cannon shooting small explosives, improving performance versus infantry. Cool. I'll make the gyro bomber a more interesting pick. Skyhammer +50 cost, -5 reload, slight reduction to accuracy. All right. Grudge Thrower +accuracy, +10. Okay, your Grudge Throwers are better. Good. Organ guns. Oh, plus 100 cost, minus accuracy. Gone are the days of organ guns taking out an entire cav unit before they get to you. That's fine. Flame cannon, plus 30 range, plus 10 explosion, AP damage, projectile tweaks. Good. Flame cannons, I mean, they're just keep, like, this has been a long time coming, but this is the second pretty substantial buff to range that flame cannons have gotten, and badly needed, you know. So, I mean, they're still low range, but maybe they'll be better. Thane, plus 50 MP costs, our melee player cost. So, Thanes are pretty pervasive because of the their weapon that can freeze. So you can't, like, I think that's been an outstanding addition for the Dowie, to have Thanes that can, you know, stop an enemy for, I don't know what it is, you give them minus 20 melee attack and they can't move for, you know, 15 seconds or something like that. This has been a very, very good addition to the Dowie, because there's just no way to handle things with mobility, and, you know, chariots could just literally completely unravel your back line. You had no counterplay. So they gave the Thanes the weapons and made them a little bit too strong. So I think adding their multiplayer cost plus 50 will rebalance that a little bit. That seems like a fair tweak. We'll see. Unless where mentioned otherwise, all infantry and missile infantry apart from rangers plus 20 mass. Good. All artillery plus 2. Rune Lord plus 50 cost. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, Rune Lords are actually quite good. The only thing they have is Forge Fire. That's the same exact cost and capability as a regular Runesmith, which I think you make Forge Fire on the Rune Lord twice as good and give it 20% AP, and now you're talking. But Rune Lords are actually pretty good in a lot of cases because of their runes, and also they have 2 abilities which can be maybe potentially abused or overpowered in certain cases, and one is not overpowered. I don't think that's overpowered. One is the ability to make units around the Rune Lord immune to psychology, which might not sound like anything, but that's kind of one of the ways, like undead, or I guess we'll see exactly with the Tomb Kings. That's one of their kind of win conditions, is to get an enemy unit very low, especially low ranking units, very low in morale, and that's where their fear and terror can kick in and can make them rout. Whereas you gather your weaker units around your Rune Lord that don't have immunity psychology, so obviously this is not your Longbeards, but maybe just regular Dwarf Warriors, and even like miners with blasting charges, and maybe that's possible to abuse. But the nice part about the Rune Lord, I think, is you put them on their mount, and they get another, I think, is it plus 15% magic resistance for the entire army, which is actually a pretty nice ability in some cases. So it's quite good. So a general, this is a combination of a rebalance, a nerf, and a buff that will make dwarves play more like dwarves with all the added mass. So I don't know how precisely I feel about it. Longbeards are very good. You know, minus 2 hit points, minus 2 charge bonus. The charge bonus is almost irrelevant, but their charge bonus is so low, but there must have a reason for doing that. I don't know what. But that plus 40, all the added mass for all the Dowie is very welcome. And it's one of these things that, you know, even though this looks like a net nerf to me, it'll make the Dowie be a lot more interesting as a faction, particularly to watch. It might bring Ironbreakers more into multiplayer. Maybe not a lot, but that plus 2 AP damage will make them more useful because they'll kill faster. And the Bugman's Ranger, I'm really curious to see how that plays out, because that's the charge defense against large is the big thing there, right? And the melee attack is good, and the plus the extra hit points, taking advantage of their regen and the plus mass, all good things. And the Iron Drake's less cost is a good thing. Iron Drakes can be quite powerful. We hardly have any of them. So if you get kind of landed on by something, I mean, they don't have a lot of range. So, you know, I think that's a good idea. The gyrocopters, I could see they're trying to make it so you get rid of your bombs easier, because the bombs in a regular gyrocopter and a gyrocopter with brimstone gun is a not insignificant portion of their balancing mechanic, because their bombs are pretty powerful. But the gyrocopter's problem is not with their damage. The gyrocopter's problem is, I mean, they get wrecked by anything in the air, like demolished. So that's their problem. So where they can shine is in matches where you don't expect to see anything else in the air. And they can actually do pretty good. The brimstone is very inaccurate, so that plus accuracy is welcome. The rapid bomb dropping, great. The ground speed for the gyro bomber, good. And that cannon shooting small explosive against infantry is kind of neat. We'll see how that goes. And the grudge thrower, accuracy and explosion damage. So your grudge thrower is, you know, that's gonna be quite a bit better, because grudge thrower has 440 range, same as your cannon. Cannons are objectively the best artillery you had as a dwarf in the first game, and this buff to the organ gun could be absolutely ridiculous. I don't think it was objectively the best. I still think a cannon is the best, but an organ gun could be ridiculous in some cases. So I think that plus cost and minus accuracy is a good thing to keep the range where it is, because they buff the range is good. But this grudge thrower is really, I don't think they probably saw it hardly in any multiplayer, because all you would see is the Regiment of Renowned version is a Goblobber. So maybe the grudge thrower will be a little more useful in multiplayer. I'll have to test some of the damage it can do, and see. Like, the advantage it has over the cannons is its firing arc, right? The disadvantage is it is quite a bit less accurate than a cannon. And of course the cannon has anti-large, but so we'll see how that plays out. This is interesting. I guess this is all fair. The nerfs are fair. I'm going to say that right now. I know from a lot of testing with the Longbeards are very powerful for their cost. They're very cost effective. Warriors of Dragonfire Past are really good. And you'll see in the testing I did against the Lizardmen, you know, kind of where they all land. But interesting. Okay, Empire, Flagellants plus 7 melee attack, minus 4 base damage, plus 75 cost. Okay, they're more like a Slayer, you know, more like a glass cannon in some ways. No, more minus 4 base damage. Like, that plus 7 melee attack, it has way more value than minus 4 base damage. They're going to do more damage, but plus 75 cost. Tattersouls, minus 6 charge bonus, plus 5 melee attack, minus 2 base damage, plus 24. So obviously Tattersouls and Flagellants were used a lot because they were good, and they're just rebalancing that a little bit. Empire, though, is hopefully they got a buff, because I think they have been underperforming. We'll see. I guess that's all that people have been using, Flagellants, Tatterswords. Halberdiers, plus 1 AP damage, that's a big buff. Greatswords, plus 2 melee, oh god. So Greatswords were objectively the best infantry, pound for pound, in the entire game upon a release of the first game. And it wasn't by a little, it was by a massive amount. They were really cheap. They had the bonus versus infantry, you know, good melee attack and melee defense, and they chewed up everything. And so I think they got they got some nerfs, and now they're not so great. But that plus 2 melee attack, that's a big buff. You know, they have good armor piercing, and they have a bonus versus infantry, which they had a much bigger bonus versus infantry on release, but they still have a bonus versus infantry. So that plus 2 melee attack will make them a lot better, bringing the Flagellants cost up, and the Greatsword's capability up might change that math. Crossbowmen, plus 1 regular projectile damage. Okay. They're just going to be better against non-armored opponents. Empire Knights, minus 50 multiplier cost. Good. Plus 4 hit points, plus 2. So they're more robust, cheaper. Maybe we'll see some more Knights. Reichsguard, minus 2 regular damage, plus 2 AP. This is a definite buff. Like, AP, 1 AP is probably worth 5 regular damage, something like that, 1 to 5. So that's what I would say. So, you know, minus 2 damage. That's like the same way of saying that. It's like minus 2 damage plus 10 damage. So you're plus 8 damage. I mean, you know, it's not exactly how it works, but so basically that's a big buff. Demigriff with lances, minus 50 multiplayer plus 12 hit points. Interesting. Okay. So making demigriffs a little more of a thing. Demigriffs with halberds and Altdorf Griffites, plus 12 hit points, minus 3 bonus versus large. Okay. So right now, I think the demigriffs with halberds are pretty much the best anti-cav in the game. That's going to tone them down a touch, but the hit points are going to. They have like 24 models, I think, plus 12 hit points. I don't know how that'll balance out. They'll last longer, but they won't do as much damage. I'm not sure. Pistoliers, plus 1 missile damage, plus 5 hit points, plus 2 melee defense. Okay, it's not AP damage. They're going to be just better against non-armored foes. They're going to be a little more robust in the back line when they get charged. Outriders, all slight increase to firing arc. Okay, easier to hit stuff. Plus 1 to projectile AP damage. It's a big buff. I don't know about Outriders. I don't think they're that great. Outrider with grenade launcher, plus 2 hit points, plus 10 range, plus 1 explosion AP damage, plus 6 projectile damage. Projectile damage on the grenades is a secondary factor as most of the damage comes from the explosion. The damage buff here merely improves the overall damage output against larger unarmored targets, making the unit a bit more versatile. Good job. Nice explanation. Whoever wrote this, thank you. You know, like this is fantastic. So basically the projectile damage, like, because like grenade launchers, Outriders, if you let them go at you, they can do a lot of damage. That explosion AP damage is a big buff. The range is a huge buff, plus 10 range, because they don't have much range. The hit points, yeah, I don't know. But that projectile damage makes them better against single targets. Interesting. Mortar, minus 50 cost, minus 1 second reload time, and plus accuracy. Ugh, I hate mortars. Why am I always so butthurt when anyone else gets an artillery buff except for me? So that's actually, that's pretty good. Mortars are, you know, better, like I guess grudge throwers are better, more accurate, but this minus cost to them is going to bring, maybe make mortars an option in some matchups. Hellblaster, fire animation duration length reduced and projectile rebalanced. Read, strong buff. Oh. Hellblasters, so they really, just wait, Hellstorm, Rocket Battery, Hellblaster. Okay, I can't remember. One of these, the Hellstorm Rocket Battery, I think has really good range, and the Hellblaster only has like 250 range maybe, but it looks like a big Gatling gun, I guess, mounted on wheels. This Hellblaster, if it hits, it's crushing. Like they're very, very good, but they have very low range. It's kind of like the Empire version of the organ gun in some ways, I think. So that big buff and plus speed. The speed will be really valuable in terms of getting into position, I guess. But the Hellblaster could be nasty. We'll see. Steam Tank, plus 15 damage, plus 25 AP, minus 2 speed, plus 12 target charge speed. They can catch things, plus 15 meter charge distance. Okay, so the Steam Tank wasn't able to catch a lot of things. All right, Luminarch of Hysh, minus 100 cost. God, I hate the Luminarch of Hysh. I guess that's fair though, but I mean, because it's just like they can pelt down your lords from a long ways. All artillery crew plus, so they're in general they're beefing up artillery. Not a ton for everybody, but just make them a little more a part of the game, because you really don't see a whole lot of artillery in multiplayer games, at least at higher levels. Sometimes you do, but Empire Wizards reduced the mount cost by 100 except for the Amber Wizard Griffin. Okay. Empire General, mount cost for war horses and Pegasi reduced by 50, Empire Captain, minus 25 cost reduction, minus 75 for Pegasus. Toddbringer, minus 50 cost. Karl Franz, plus 40 base AP, plus 20 base damage. And on Deathclaw, plus 55 AP, minus 15. So that's a big buff for Karl Franz, that's for sure. So all their generals. So the generals are a lot better. Their greatswords are a lot better. They have a little bit more capability against unarmored when it comes to range. Doesn't seem like I don't know, like a lot of people are really unhappy with the place Empire's in. I mean, I can't understand as a dwarf, but I've never played Empire. But it seems like Empire just has their choices are so good for what their army could be that, you know, it seems like they have a lot of options when it comes to their army. But hopefully these are like this plus 2 melee attack for greatswords is really big, and plus 1 speed. They are pretty slow. That's a really big buff. The cost for the flagellants and tattersouls, well, maybe they were being widely overused and they don't have a whole lot of armor, so I mean, might have pigeonholed the Empire a little bit more than they're used to. I think in general it looks like we're seeing a cavalry buff too, in a lot of these in some ways, so that's good. So all the leadership for the Empire seems to be, I've gotten less, or some of the leadership is less expensive, so that's good. High Elves, White Lions, plus 1 regular damage, minus 1 AP. Good. That is a definite nerf. Archers, all minus accuracy. Big nerf. This is actually a really big nerf for High Elves if they're going to hit less. Because the High Elves don't have an armor piercing ranged option, or at least a reasonable one. I don't think so. So they could make up for it from being quite accurate and having very good range. I think they're 180 with their archers. That's a big nerf. Silverhelms, plus 1 HP. Okay, Dragon Princes, plus 50 multiplayer cost. Big, well, that's a nerf. They're expensive already. I think 1,400 or something. Great Eagle, minus 31 regular damage, plus 31 AP. Whoo, that's a big buff. Plus 4 melee attack. Eesh. So I don't know, maybe Great Eagles weren't being used at all, but they are way better now. Like plus 31 AP damage. Maybe they had before like 150, now they're 180, I don't know. But plus 4 melee attack on top of that, and plus 2 melee defense, so they can hang in there on the ground. Great Eagles are really wimpy. I mean, they're not very good in campaign. I don't know what they're like against in multiplayer, but they couldn't have been very good. That's a huge buff, right? Great Eagle mounted character, similar shift from regular to AP. You're definitely gonna see more High Elves mounted on a Great Eagle, I would think. The Chariot, plus 2 melee attack, plus 2. I don't like any buffs to any chariots because I hate them all. Eagle bolt, the Eagle Claw bolt thrower, plus 2 speed, plus 10 range. Okay, Dragon mounts, plus 100 costs. Yeah. They'll move a little bit away from dragons, I guess, making them more expensive. General, a nerf though. White Lions. White Lions are in the sweet spot for infantry. And what I mean by that is there's kind of a real sweet spot for cost and stats that kind of sits in that, I'm going to say 650 to 900 gold per unit range. For some reason that seems to be, it's not for everything, but that seems to be like the range where you get the best bang for your buck in terms of you can field a lot of units. Units tend to be pretty good value at that. You see lots of things like the Saurus Warriors, the Longbeards, the White Lions, for example, kind of in that range. Great Swords, the Chaos Warriors, and these kinds of things, and you get enough units to fill up your front line, so you're not like really elite and can be outflanked really, really badly, but your units are still pretty effective. So this is a bigger nerf than it might seem, because not only are they losing AP damage and gaining regular damage, which is a big nerf in and of itself, this is also a sweet spot unit, right? So when you're taking your units that are in that sweet spot for multiplayer in terms of cost versus output, and nerfing them, it's a very big nerf. That's why the nerf with the Longbeards is a big nerf. -2 hit points. Because they're in the sweet spot. +1 regular damage, -1 AP, -2 hit points. That's a really big nerf for Longbeards with great weapons, because they're in that sweet spot. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, I mean, they cost 700 gold. They're in that sweet spot. They have good stat distribution and capabilities. So these are really, really big nerfs compared to a nerf to Ironbreakers or, Chosen, who you might see 1 unit, maybe 2. If someone's going nuts, you're going to see 3 or 4, and then they don't have anything to defend their back line or anything like that. So the High Elves, that nerf to their White Lions is really big, and the minus accuracy to the Archers is very big. That and the Dragon Mouse, like this is a big nerf. Just those 2 things. That's all you need, I think. We'll see. I know High Elves can be pretty good. We'll see. Lizardmen. All right, let's see what our buddies. I've done a lot of stuff on this, so a lot of research. Like I spent the last 2 weeks doing tests between Lizardmen and Dwarfs for this video I want to do, and now it's all changing. So Chameleon Skinks -2 melee defense. Okay, good. If you can ever catch them, I mean you can't catch them as a dwarf with anything ever for any reason. They have less melee defense. So I guess that'll be handy if you can chase them down with Cav for other factions. It will be irrelevant for the dwarfs. Croxagores +2 bonus versus large, again irrelevant. And Croxagores, you can just wreck them. Dwarfs can wreck Croxagores. Horned ones are very good. Actually, I would say they're outstanding against dwarfs. In a lot of ways, this melee defense will just make them better. I think they have a bonus versus large, which is a bit of waste, so you might not see them in a Dowie matchup. I'll have to go look again. The Revivification Crystal, -3 cast. Ooh, that is a nerf right there. Like that's your healing, right? So 3 less casts of healing with that crystal. That is what that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt Kroq-Gar and it's going to hurt Mazdamundi, right? Because you just keep that crystal back and you just try and be careful about how you use it and get off all your heals, and you basically can guarantee you're going to get 2 Kroq-Gars, right? Because you're going to get his hit points and his hit points again once he hits his cap. Or maybe not guarantee, but it can make that's a pretty big difference. So that -3 cast is a big nerf in multiplayer. And who knows, maybe it brings some of the base lords into play, but I doubt it. Kroq-Gar and Mazdamundi are awesome. Like Kroq-Gar is amazing, actually. Pterodon Riders +10 ground speed. Well, that's crappy. Like not like gyrocopters could do anything against Pterodon Riders, but at least they get to outrun them. Now they're that'll put Pterodon Riders at 100 speed. Maybe I think they're at 90. I'm not too sure. Carnosaurs all minus mass, good. Plus hitbox size, +2 attack interval. Ooh, that's a big nerf. All right. And one of the things about fighting Lizardmen in my Mortal Empires campaign, they are incredibly fun to fight. First of all, just the way they are in campaign. In multiplayer, I understand they're extremely good, and they may need some nerfs. And this is your big nerfs, is because they're so disruptive. They can just go wherever they want. You can't stop them. And so that minus mass and making them easier to hit with your ranged units, and melee it around and reducing. That's like +0.2 seconds to their attack interval is going from say 3.6 seconds to 3.8. I mean, what is that? That's like 5% reduction in their DPS. Pretty big. Skink Chief -18 blowpipe ammo. Good. It's good nerf. Kroq-Gar on Grimlock reduced missile resistance to 15%. Excellent. -5 armor. All right. So they're definitely making Kroq-Gar, like, it's going to be easier to DPS him down. Like with the Dowie, I mean, I've got other private testing. It's not going to be infantry on infantry, but really it is your rangers with great weapons that are the anti-Crockar. Like you get your regiment of renown and another ranger with great weapons, and if you can keep them shooting for any amount of time, they will chew up Crockar pretty fast. You reduce his missile resistance to 15%, you know, they are just going to do that much more damage. So they'll be able to knock him up pretty quick. Like Crockar against the dwarfs, you have counters to him. I think in the testing I've done, anyways. I haven't done any multiplayer play for a long time, but I think the Dowie have very good counters to Crockar in general, even though he's still incredibly disruptive. I mean, I don't know. Old Blood Carnosaur, -5 armor. Saurus Old Blood on foot, plus 50 cost and plus 5% health. Interesting. Scar Veteran on a Carnosaur, -2 charge bonus, -5 base damage, -10 AP damage. Huge nerf. -5 armor, removed primal instincts. And Scar Veteran here on a cold one. Okay, plus 15 bonus versus large. Oh, I see. Okay. So they're separating what they do a little bit. Plus 3 AP damage. Scar Veteran by himself, -150 base damage, plus 130 AP, -5. That's a huge buff for a Scar Veteran just standing around. Maybe they want to give them more of an option with Scarred Veterans obviously on the ground. Skaven, interesting. So Doomwheel, -50 multiplayer cost, okay. Minus charge speed, -3 melee attack. That's a huge nerf. Plus 10 regular damage. It's, you know, it doesn't matter. -20 AP damage. Like this, -20 AP, -3 melee attack. This is what you look at. This plus 10 regular damage. I mean, this is a red herring, or it's a carrot to. I mean, it's like a sugar pill to ease the pain of Skaven players. Because not only is your Doomwheel more expensive, it is significantly shittier. It's like that's a big nerf. -3 melee attack and -20 AP for plus 10 and plus 50. Collision attacks tweaks. I don't know what that means. Night Runners and Gutter Runners, throwing stars, no longer ignore shields. Good. Storm Vermin, both +1 hit points. Good. I like that. I mean, that makes them just a little better. And Artillery Crew, +3 hit points. So they do. I think so. What they're saying there is they like where Skaven artillery is in general. They're just going to make them a little more resistant to charges in the back lines. Greenskins. Okay, let's see what the Greenskins got. Orc Boys, +2 melee attack, -1 melee defense. So this is going to be a big effect in campaign because you see lots of Orc Boys early. So that melee attack is going to be a big deal. The melee defense, not so much. The melee attack is going to be more important. Savage Orc Big Guns and Boar Boy Big Guns, +2 leadership. That's a big deal. It's a big deal in campaign. Well, maybe not. You don't see that many Boar Boy Big Guns. Really, you don't. Okay. But I think it's good. It's a good multiplayer. Ragnarok, -120 multiplayer. Missile range increased to 100. Interesting. So Ragnaroks are... You mean that... You saw the Spider Queen because it can cast all those little spiders quite a bit, but it'll be interesting to see how that works. That -100 MP cost will bring it into the range of more decisions, but missile range increased to 100 is interesting. Now, the thing is, I think they do poison damage, but they don't shoot a lot of missiles. There's just like 10 goblins on the back of a Ragnarok shooting arrows. So, see how that plays out. Might be interesting because I think they do poison damage, and poison is no joke. Like maybe they only have 9 goblins. They maybe not do any actual real physical damage to you, but poisoning a unit from 100 away on a spider could be useful. Rock Lobbers plus accuracy. Okay, I can see that. Rock Lobbers are pretty crappy. All artillery +3 hit points. Yep. Grimgore +5 armor +60 AP melee damage. What? It's Grimgore -10. Grimgore's already awesome. I guess he wasn't. I guess that's just like power creep, right? Because Grimgores are. I guess in the first game he was so good in melee. So I guess he's maybe not as good, but +60 AP melee damage. I think he's got like 300 and some already, or around there. So, that's a big buff, plus 60 AP melee, plus 5 armor, minus 10. This is minus 10 base damage. I don't know, like some people might say, oh, at least they're kind of just rebalancing, but that's plus 60 melee damage is huge. Orc Shaman, minus 50 cost for a boar mount. Interesting. Okay. Maybe that'll help Orc Shamans be a little more robust, come into the game more. So, some small changes. These Orc boys, though, that plus 2 melee attack, minus 1 melee defense, I mean, it is just a straight up buff. If you look at it, you just get 1 stat point for nothing. So it's like reducing the cost by 15 gold, or you get basically 15 gold extra for nothing. So, I mean, that is their lowest tier Orc infantry. I mean, they have lower tier Goblin infantry, but it'd be interesting. It might make a small change. And that leadership is not nothing. You know, your boar boys will stand up a little better. That Arachnorok's interesting. Like, Arachnoroks are so expensive. I mean, it's not going to make a giant change in the meta in what you see, I wouldn't think. You know, like, clearly they like where greenskins are in general. So Wood Elves. Whew. A lot going on here with the Wood Elves. Eternal Guard, minus 1. Well, that's a nerf. Minus just a straight up nerf. Eternal Guard, minus 1 hit point. Dryads, minus 2 hit points. Minus 1 melee attack. Big nerf. War Dancers, all of them, minus 2 hit points. War Dancers, Azrai Spear, plus 1 melee defense. Okay, Wildwood Rangers, plus 2 melee defense. So just like rebalancing some of this. Maybe they're trying to take some of these things and split them out. Glade Guard with Hagbanes, minus 50. So Hagbane tips, okay, minus 50 multiplayer cost. Glade Guards all, plus 2 ammo, removed magical. Ooh, ouch. That is a nerf. Remove magical attacks for Glade Guards, for all of them. Oh well. Too bad for a Wood Elf player, I guess. It's good for the Dwarfs. Okay. Deepwood, especially if you're like Clan Angren, you know, maybe you want to like playing Clan Angren, you don't have to worry about your ethereal units as much. Deepwood Scouts, plus 2 speed, plus 3 HP. Deepwood Scouts with Swift Shivers, minus 5 range. Okay, that's straight up nerf. Way Watchers, minus 1 reload, plus projectile speed, plus 1 hit point, plus 2 melee attack, plus 2 ammo, plus 1 charge bonus and acceleration. So this will make Way Watchers much better skirmishers. So they must have been that they were really being out skirmished by, you know, skinks and stuff like that. So I don't know how they could be. They have way more range, but whatever. Obviously they're making them better skirmishers. Clearly, they have better projectile speed, reload, acceleration, so they can run away faster when they start to run away. And if they do get into combat, they have better melee attack and more hit points. So Glade Riders. So this is irrelevant against the Dowie, right? Because we're not counter skirmishing with the potential exception of the new Bugman's Rangers. We'll see. I'll have to test those. Glade Riders on Hagbanes removed magical attacks. Okay, Great Eagles, same kind of buff the High Elves got. The AP damage and the melee attack. Great Eagle mounted characters show similar shift for 2 AP. Hawk Riders, plus ground speed, plus mass, minus 1 second reload, plus 2 charge bonus, plus 6. So Hawk Riders must have been non-existent in the meta. I don't know if I've ever seen them. Oh no, I have. I'm thinking of something different. Okay, well they're trying to make them more valuable. Sisters of the Thorn, plus 8 models, minus 12 hit points, plus 1 regular damage, plus 50 cost. Interesting. Balance. More models, less hit points, more cost. The Sisters of the Thorn are those Cav, and they have like a little magic spell they can cast, I think. So this will probably end up meaning they're maybe not robust per unit, but the whole unit will last longer, you know, and maybe you'll get those casts off a little more. Plus 50 melee cost is significant. Treekin, minus 3 regular damage, plus 6 AP. Oh, those AP. Plus 15 missile resistance. Okay, so Treekins are going to be way better against the Dwarfs. They have better AP and missile resistance. Treeman, charge defense versus large exchanged for charge defense versus all. That's better. I like that. Minus 30 regular damage, plus 30 AP. Yikes. Plus 15 missiles. So the Treeman and Treekin big buff. Ancient Treeman, charge defense for have a charge defense against all. That's good. I like that. That's appropriate. Minus 21 regular, plus 20 AP. That, should a tree do 8 armor piercing damage? Really? Well, whatever. Plus 5 leadership, plus 900 hit points. Durthu plus 900 hit points. I love Durthu's lore, actually. I like his sword. But female Glade Lord on the Forest Dragon, plus 10% missile resist to fix its inconsistency. Okay. Glade Lords all, plus 100 melee multiplayer cost for all the Glade Lords. Okay. Vampires. See, this is so huge. We're just about to the bottom. I don't know how long I've been filming this now, but this is pretty long. But I wanted to go through... I haven't read every single word in this, but I wanted to go through it all for anybody who just wants to listen to it, can't be arsed to go through it. Just wants to chill and listen to someone else talk it out, I guess. And go over, does this affect the Dowie? So vampires, Karen Wraith, plus 4 charge bonus. That's actually really good for Karen Wraiths because they have very low health, and if you can get on them, you can lose them pretty fast as the vampires. Hellsteeds, all, plus 10 ground speed. Okay. A little more mobility. Black Knights, plus 2 melee attack. This is a big buff, okay? So Black Knights are not that expensive, and they are sort of the anti-infantry cav as it is. So their charge bonus is important, but not as important, because really you would want to get them up against infantry. So this is actually bad for the dwarfs against the vampires. You're going to see more Black Knights. You won't see Blood Knights anyways because there's you never would bring Blood Knights to fight a dwarfs, but Black Knights will be more appealing because they will do more AP, and that's bad against the dwarfs. That minus 1.1 second attack interval, that's like 2.5% increase in damage per second. Plus 2 melee attack is going to be, more like a kind of like a 5, who knows, like a 5 to 10% DPS. The minus regular damage doesn't really matter, and plus AP damage again is a big buff. So Black Knights, watch out in multiplayer. You're probably going to see more. We'll see. They seem like these all seem little, but it'll make them a lot better against the dwarfs. Varix Reavers, plus 2 charge bonus, irrelevant. X-Wraith, plus 4 speed. Good choice. I like that. Ethereal units being faster. Vargeist, plus 7 ground speed. Good. Minus 3 regular damage, plus 3 AP. So that's just a flat out buff. But Vargeist, they are Vargeist and Vargulfs are really easy to take down as a dwarf. Vargulfs, and they should look like they should be faster. They got huge wings and everything. The Vargulfs, plus 20 damage, plus 40 AP. That's huge buff. Oh, plus 0.6 attack intervals. That's a big nerf. Minus 5 charge bonus, plus 2 melee attack, plus 4 melee defense, plus 5 multiplayer cost. That's an interesting rebound. Okay, it actually says something here. I was going to say, okay, I'm not reading it. I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to try and figure out. Whoa, I'm just about to knock my mic over. I'm trying to cover it with my hand so I can try and figure out for myself what they're trying to achieve here before I read it. Plus 20 damage, plus 40 AP. So that AP damage is a huge buff against lords, and against the things you normally see in multiplayer that have a lot of armor. So they're a lot better. Plus 6 attack interval, 0.6. That is a huge nerf to their total DPS. So they're giving them more damage per shot, but a lot less shots, like 3.6 seconds to 4.2. I can't remember precisely what the number is, but it's going to be somewhere around there. That's a massive nerf. Minus 5 charge bonus. I don't think that's such a big deal. Plus 2 melee attack combined with the AP damage and regular damage, but it's really the AP damage is really, really good. Plus 4 melee defense. So they're going to be much more robust in a pile. Plus 4 melee defense is pretty good. Plus 50 melee multiplayer cost. So again, plus really about 4 stat points are worth 50 gold. So even though their multiplayer cost is going up 50 gold, they're getting 6 stat points. So it's a good trade. but they're getting a lot more AP damage, but really they're going to get a big nerf. So what's the goal? Why would you do that? They'll be better against other monsters, that's for sure. Maybe to make them better against other monsters and lords? Let's see. The overall goal of these changes is for the Vargulf to be able to spend more time in combat, cost less cycle charge micro. Fewer but stronger attacks per minute make the Vargul less susceptible to loss of vigor. Ooh, interesting. Okay. I never knew that. So you get a vigor per attack. Your vigor loss per attack makes sense. That's an interesting little tidbit. I love these notes. Thank you, whoever wrote this in CA. So completely wrong, but it looks to me like these guys will be better. Vargulfs would be better against other large units in general with that big bonus to AP damage. Because plus 40 AP damage, what difference is that going to make when you're hitting a minor? Like none. I mean, you're going to kill him with, 200 damage or 240 damage. Both scenarios he goes from alive to dead, so it doesn't matter. But against other large creatures, you think that's going to make a difference. And that melee attack and melee defense, the melee defense is more for being in a mosh pit. The melee attack is more to make sure you land that extra 40 AP and the 50 multiplayer cost. So that's a good trade in any case, but this attack interval, that's just a straight up nerf. Less susceptible to loss of vigor. I could see some of the logic there, but that's a big reduction in total damage output. Plus 6 attack interval. Unless there's something I'm missing. Corpse Cart, minus 100 multiplayer cost. Interesting. Maybe we'll see some more Corpse Cart. Corpse Carts are actually really good. They're not really good. What they do, which is regular Corpse Cart, is they give a lot of the vampire counts unit. They give them a plus, I think it's plus 5 melee attack, maybe something like that, which isn't nothing because a lot of the vampire counts units have a pretty low melee attack actually, so that's pretty useful. Graveguard, great weapons, plus 3 charge bonus. Okay. Terrorgeist, plus 15% breath attack damage. Probably good. Dragon mounts, plus 100 cost, so reduce dragons a little bit. Alright, so that's all the changes to multiplayer. Or some of the rebalancing. Really what you've seen is a rebalance in favor of maybe making artillery more desirable in multiplayer in general. I've seen some nerfs. I'd say a definite strong buff to Bretonia. A kind of a weird rebalancing to Chaos. I don't get it. Maybe I'm just missing something. I don't know. I would really like to hear anyone who's, like, I know definitely got a couple of people who watch that love playing Chaos. Like, what does this mean to you? This doesn't seem like it's a real good change in general, except for Archaon. Like, bringing Archaon into the Lord rotation seems like a good thing. And particularly that plus 2 splash targets and plus 35 AP, these all seem like good things for Archaon. And that your hell cannons are a lot better. Okay, so that's another thing. Because hell cannons are expensive. They really are. But everything's like chosen with great weapons. They've given some buffs, which are good. But, 4 stats are worth 50 gold straight up. So really basically what they've done is given them plus 2 AP damage. And I already have lots. It's almost like getting plus 2 AP for free, because paying 50 gold for these plus 2 melee attack and plus 2 melee defense is kind of a wash. But you're making an already really expensive unit more expensive, which makes it less desirable in multiplayer, because it's so risky to have expensive units. So I just... maybe I'm missing something. I'd really like to hear from any Chaos players. Dark Elves, yep, just a nerf. Dwarfs, nerfs where they needed it. Longbeards are really, really good. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are really, really good. And a buff to the Ironbreakers. And the right one, like that The hit points, I'm not so, like, this is unneeded. I don't know why it's there. That AP damage, massive. And the extra mass, things charging into your Iron Breakers are going to, it's going to look more like they're hitting a Dwarven wall. The Rangers, plus acceleration, minus melee defense. So little, like, these Bugman Rangers are really interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. Empire, a few key changes that I think is the net, is going to be a net buff. Particularly these great swords. Like having just good anti-armor piercing infantry that can stand up as the core of your front line is never a bad. The great swords have good armor and everything else like that. High elves, these are like key areas. They don't have a lot of, I don't think they have any armor piercing options for ranged. I mean, they have the bolt thrower, but I'm not counting that. And the white lines are in the sweet spot, not -1 AP -1 to the AP damage is a pretty big nerf. Lizardmen, I mean, Krokgar is going to be way more vulnerable, especially to the Dawi. And Skinks, less blowpipe. I think they actually had a ridiculous amount of blowpipe ammo, though, if I'm remembering correctly. Like something absolutely outrageous, like that you're never going to run out of, like 36 or something like that, and now they only have 18 maybe. Pterodon Riders, yeah. It would be interesting. So really, they're Sour Spears, Sours Warriors, Sours with shields. They weren't touched in any way. So that's kind of, and they're a very, very good unit. The Sourus Warriors are just a good, solid, all-around unit. So Skaven, yeah. I guess I think they're in a pretty good place in general. That's just an utterly massive Doomwheel nerf. Greenskins, not much. Ragnarok will be interesting. Wood Elves, a lot of changes. I have to say this is a net nerf. We're taking a lot away magic damage. Treemen and Treekin will be interesting. Vampires, I don't know. This is a pretty big buff for the Black Knights against the Dwarfs specifically. They'd be much better, and the Corpse Cart. That's potentially maybe. The Dwarfs can take out Corpse Carts pretty fast. Yeah, we'll see. So now we're down to abilities. Slightly reduced durations for physical resistance buffs. Okay, so increased total DPS in the game because you reduced the physical resistances buffs. So that's going to hit the dwarfs, right? Because dwarfs have Rune of Negation, which is a physical resistance. Maybe it's not a buff. Yeah, it's a buff. Small balance tweaks to improve abilities that affect melee damage. Okay. Added wind-up times to abilities that with a damage component to give players a chance to react. Added wind-up times to abilities that with a damage component to give added wind-up times to abilities with a damage component to give players a chance to react. Is that like a breath attack, or like wind spells, so you can move out of the way? I don't know what that means. Adjusted the base ability recharge times to 60, 90, and 120 seconds to reduce cost effectiveness of tier 1 abilities, increase the cost effectiveness of tier 3 abilities. I don't know precisely what that means. Maybe that's magic. So they just want a balance between tier 1 and tier 3, but I don't know what those mean. Maybe that's an internal, maybe that's kind of internal speak at CA. They kind of have tier 1 abilities, tier 3 abilities. Adjusted ability recharge times to 60, 90, and 120 to reduce the cost. So what they're saying, everyone's taking tier 1s because they're cost effective and they want them to use tier 3s, but I don't know what they consider a tier 1 and tier 3 ability. Removed initial recharge from abilities with the exception of army abilities and abilities that rely on initial recharge for a mechanic. Like that it has to charge up. Okay, so maybe this means, like, Flash Bomb, you start with it. You don't have to wait for it to charge up. You have Grom Brindley of Flash Bomb, and you start with it already ready to fire off at any time as soon as you start, rather than having to wait for it to charge up. That's a good idea. Rebalanced net spells and net abilities. Okay. Tweaks. I know net of Ammontok has been nerfed, so that's really good. I freaking hate it. I actually hate all CC in all games. Like real hard CC or crowd control. Like slowing, I don't mind as much as stopping. Like, I'm glad that the Dowie now have the ability to stop something, but I just don't feel like it's a good game mechanic. Even though I like that I've got the ability with the Thanes as a Dowie, I would rather not and just have a slow or have something different. Like mechanics where you just can stop something and tee off is a custom made cheese mechanic. Okay, so here's how you get Krokar, right? You have 2 units of Rangers with great weapons. One of the regiment of renown. Keep him kind of a little bit out of sight. He comes in, you get him stopped in place, and you tee off on him with everything you got, and you can beat his healing if you can keep him still. And now that he has less missile resistance, that's how you do it. And you see that all the time. That's how net of Ammontok is used. You'll stop a unit in front of something that can dish out a ton of range damage, and you'll just, like if I was running my Peak Gate Guard up towards Empire, and they net of Ammontok them and used 2 handgunners, they could just mow them down. And there's nothing you can do. It is an unfun mechanic. A lot of CCs are. I know it's a good strategic mechanic. It's interesting, but it's prone to cheese and it's unfun in general. Just like really strong abilities like Fate of Buna or like Spirit Leech used to be. I think maybe Spirit Leech is in a much better place. But when the game first came out, 2 Spirit Leeches could kill a Lord that didn't have a heal potion or regeneration. So what you ended up is, like, before they added heal potions at all into the Lords, it was just the whole multiplayer scene was all about how fast could you kill the Lord, right? It's just a Lord smashing contest. And then they added in the heal potions and the toughness potions, and then it became a whoever had a cheap Lord with a heal potion and a toughness portion, and some heroes with those same portions were winning all the time, like, namely Empire, who had them all in spades. And Dowie had, like, the Dwarfs were really, really weak back then because there was no Dwarf characters that had any kind of healing, in even potions. The only thing you had was the Thane. But the Thanes were still Thanes are actually pretty weak in combat because they don't have armor piercing. And then they've got, I think the Lords are generally in a pretty good place right now in terms of their abilities, and they're balancing well. They don't have these healing potions, and they did a really good pass on Mortal Empires and stuff like that. But yeah, so the net of Ammontok has had the effect radius removed. Okay, upgraded net of that. Okay, so it is single target, which is good. I still don't like it, but it's good. Durations. Upgraded net of Ammontok now adds a 30 meter effect radius instead of doubling the duration. Okay, so that's good. So the duration is essentially cut in half. Okay, Tempest now reduces speed by 72% rather than a can't move effect. Very good. I think the Tormentor Sword should do that too. Tormentor Sword no longer to be duration reduced considerably. Okay, that's a good change. So the Tormentor Sword for the Thane is extremely good because it stops whatever it hits, but the duration has been reduced considerably. These are all good changes. Rebalance nets, spells, and abilities. Yeah, this is good job, CA. These are all positive. I like the Tormentor Sword and that I have it on the Thanes, but Thanes are more expensive and the duration is reduced. It's good change. And NetMM talk. I hope they continue with that, because it is unfun to have a unit that can't move. You can't do anything with them. Max 3 uses of Prey of Anathrama, whatever that is. Max 2 uses of Effigia de Git. Abilities that grant full hide and unspottable now last longer. Interesting. Okay. Unspottable. Cool. A little more stealth. Stealth is something you got to be weary of, I think. There's so many games that stealth, and they quickly become unfun mechanics as well. I think they're doing a real good job with stock right now. It's actually in a really good place in general. Cold-blooded, double duration, halved healing per second to make the debuff more meaningful. Okay, that's actually a really good change. So cold-blooded, when you're healing, is good, but the debuff is like a speed and damage debuff or something like that. So when you're using cold-blooded, you heal, but you have a debuff. Now the healing is halved and doubled the duration. So you basically, it's a pretty big nerf to cold-blooded is what I'm saying. You get the same amount of total healing in the end, but you spend twice as much time in the debuff state. Flash Bomb, rebalanced as a tier 2 ability. Okay, so it's not clear what is a tier 1 ability, what is a tier 2, and what is a tier 3, but having Flash Bomb as a tier 2 ability, maybe it used to be a tier 3, is really good, because Flash Bomb is quite powerful, and that means you'll be able to use it more, I think. Grombrindle has no fear, is now free in custom, and automatically on Papa Grom. They've been watching Turin. That is a good choice. It's free. Grombrindle has no fear. I would never pay for that. But having it free, it makes sense. Warp Bomb and Dark Conduit. Reduced damage by 13%. Okay. Mark of Cornflakes. I don't know if I'm childish because I find that funny. I'm not too sure. Change to common. Reduced to 81. Hold the line. Change to common. Reduced to 81. So that's tier 1, I assume, means common. I'm not sure. Removed max targets 3 from Chaos Toonblade. Okay. Spells. Adjusted the recharge times. Tier 1 spells have around 20% longer to recharge time, and Tier 3 have 20% shorter. So I don't know if that's good, because there's some Tier 3 spells that are pretty friggin' crushing. Like some of those big wind spells. They use a lot of magic. But recharge, does that matter so much? I don't know. I think the 20% longer recharge on the cheaper spells is going to matter more. Dwellers Below, an upgrade, power cost -2. Good. Skaven. No. Dwellers Below, an upgrade. No. Okay. Dwellers Below. Who is that? I can't remember. Is that vampire counts when they raise? No, I don't know. I don't even venture a guess. Anyways, Piercing Bolts of Burning changed to fully armor piercing and increased projectile damage to increase damage against high hit point enemies and overkill basic infantry. Think of the spell as now as an elite killer. Wonderful. So that'll be a really good against Dwarf Lords. Flamestorm increased radius to 10 meters, adjusted damage down to balance vortex to new radius. Okay, Flamestorm upgraded, replaced radius increase with more damage. Fated unit +1 power cost. Okay, that's maybe good. Savage Domination, summon Cygor, unbinds 20% faster. Okay, those are real hard to balance. I think the whole summoning spells, but whatever. Plague -1 power cost. Plague upgraded -2 power cost. Okay. Modding. So there we're at the end almost. So modding. Added functionality for modders to dynamically load scripting mods to avoid mod conflicts with these types of mod You can now place a mod folder in any of these three. Yeah, and I think, you know what? Kudos, CA. You know, I like this. I would wish they would go even further with mod support. Because, you know, Total Warhammer has been in a modded state for a while. And, you know, Tomb Kings, Lizardmen, everything you can think of. From a business standpoint, I could see, you know, the not the developer, but the people that are selling the game, if different, saying you shouldn't have people modding the game because they can give content we want to create for free early. This is not how modding actually ends up functioning. It just keeps interest in the game. You know, because there are already faction unlockers. You can play every faction, and there's some great Dowie mods that I'm definitely going to play. You know, you can play Crackadrak, and they have a whole new campaign tree. But if CA came out with a Crackadrak DLC that cost $10, I would buy it in a heartbeat, right? So modding is just wonderful all around. And so they explain how to do that. So that is the Tomb Kings update patch notes and reworking of Bretonia. So, I mean, just in summary, good job, CA. I mean, I'm seriously impressed, and I mean, I love this game. I love Total War, and I love Warhammer. And when they brought these together, it was like a little dream come true for me. And, you know, because these are the dwarfs I want to play. I mean, I play all kinds of dwarf games like Dwarf Fortress and you know, I like dwarfs. I played a dwarf cleric in D&D and like back and starting in 84, 85 when I started playing that. Maybe 83. That was a long time ago. Anyways, they're just doing a great job of making improvements, and this is something definitely unexpected. I love these patch notes, and some of the scale of some of the things they've changed are pretty minor, which means they are paying attention, and they have, you know, butts in chairs at computers making improvements. So they are maintaining the investment in this franchise, and this is really heartening because Mortal Empires and this game 2 is going to keep improving. Tomb Kings look freaking amazing. Bretonia, upgrading them is just an awesome thing because they could have let Bretonia languish, but like this is a big improvement. You know, we're talking tech trees and a lot of improvements. So good on CA. This bodes well for the game. And you know, it just makes me excited to see what's coming next, to see the level of effort that's been put into this patch. So anyways, I that'll be it for this review. You know, hopefully maybe you just listened to it, hopefully listen to the review in the background, maybe while you're doing something else, or you know, I know a lot of times that I like things being read out, so I just can like chill out or be doing something else. And I hope you liked it, hope you found it interesting, and I hope you are as excited as I am for the Tomb Kings update patch and the Tomb Kings themselves. The campaigns already look fantastic, and the CA has done a great job with them and their implementation into the game so far from what I can see, and this just bodes well because I know someday my Chaos Dwarves are coming, and they're going to be done well. Not well, like all the second game factions have been done amazingly, and the first game factions were done well. So that means the third game factions will be unbelievable, and there will be the Chaos Dwarfs to play, and we are going to play the shit out of the Chaos Dwarfs when they release. Trust me. Trust me, lads. We're going to play them a lot. So have a good one, and I'll see you next time, and I'm going to try and get my next this is Total Dwarf Hammer Oathbound episode uploaded tonight. I'll get this uploaded. I'll get it rendered and uploaded as soon as I can, and try my darndest to get my essential units analysis video with the Dwarf infantry versus the Lizardman infantry done and released this weekend, so that we can have another look at it or a comparison after the patch lands. So have a good one. I'll see you soon.